welcome to another lifting episode with our friends Allison and Jason from Australia.
G'day, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. And we're doing the subject today on AI influences and AI in the channeling field and also the metaverse.
So first of all, though, we always like to do an affirmation and blessing to get us all ready for the show. So with that, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's interested in this conversation we're having, and thank you for joining us today. We send you out well wishes throughout now. I hope you can feel the intent and the energy that we're trying to send through to you right now to welcome you to this conversation. We hope you find it interesting. We hope that, within this, again, this is about understanding the world around us better, not to fear the world around us better. We are amazing souls. You are amazing souls. And our abilities and what we can do with the world around us is actually just beginning to be understood. So we hope you stay with us. We hope you learn a little bit more about the world around you. We hope you learn a little bit more about yourselves and how to control and to live within the world that you wish to create. So blessings to everyone that is joining us now. So with this is really kind of a very interesting and for some people somewhat scary, honestly, conversation. There's certain conversations in this world that, people don't currently know really what's going on, number one. And number two, there are fears of attracting things that you don't want into your life just by having a conversation about it. So first of all, we do not actually buy into this kind of thought process that we've always said that who benefits from not having a conversation about someone. And usually it's the people that are controlling it that don't want you to see the man or computer or AI behind the curtain, because then once you do and the awareness is there, some of their effects and, or as Chris says, sometimes some of their magic is diminished. And so knowledge is actually great power. So it's a great conversation to have. I think first off, probably what we want to start talking this conversation is with everyone here, what is our current understanding of the AI presence around us? So what's your understanding, guys?
Do you want to go first? Yeah, I can go first. So we did a podcast on this the other day about AI and my dream. I had dreams about AI, and I first started talking about that. The basic AI technology isn't bad because we're surrounded by computers and phones and everything like that. I mean, the base level of it it's a really fantastic tool. But until you go deeper behind that, that's when it gets a little bit too, I don't know if I use the word messy, creepy. So that's the big thing. And we're working out that everything is becoming more implemented with AI. And that, I believe, is a slight issue.
Right.
Because everything's going towards into becoming, I guess, programmable AI bots.
Because my thing is that when the big hoo-ha happened around the world, I said to Jason that I have an issue with a certain substance that everyone was forced to use, because I already knew what was in that substance and I could see everything play out before it even happened. And it wasn't a good outcome. I wanted to run for the hills pretty much.
The depths of that outcome are just now beginning to show as far as medically what's happening to people, what will continue to happen to people. And again, the concern of how much of that is an AI relatable kind of issue. The thing about it that we've tried to talk about is right now, and the way that I've tried to state it is that technology is wonderful. Technology is fantastic. The fact that we can sit here, we're in the United States, you're in Australia, we're doing a little cast here, everybody can
it's awesome.
This is fantastic. I will agree. There is energies coming through, even in what we're doing right now, where it is what I refer to as dirty. So there's dirty energy that's coming off of, computers, cell phones, cell towers. You really can't get away from it. Right now. One of the best things that we always say to how do you get away from it, you got to be as deep within nature and forests and different
You got to be
places.
very deep in the
Deep in there if you wanted to try and get away from it all. So it's not about necessarily getting away from all. First, the awareness that, our TVs, our anything that we have that's electronic pretty much has been overlaid. I guess I like to use that word because I think of the energy as the energy to do it all. Okay, we're doing this right now. The basics, as you said, Jason, of all of that energy is fantastic, great technology. Right now, though, as time has gone on, for those that wish to remain, let's say, in a position of control, one way to do it is to actually overlay that really good energy going through with something else. Again, people have said they've seen the subliminal messages caught every now and then on their own TV screen or on their computer, that there's a wave, and that electrical kind of stimulation wave does come out, does kind of affect us. Either our eyes are seeing something that we don't realize we're seeing, that all of this kinds of stuff. Over time, I think what's been happening is, and Chris and I pretty much have a belief system that a main part of this occurred at the 1964 World's Fair. We've always pointed to that moment as like a turn on switch where things became, a bigger portion. And then as time has gone by, it's gotten refined to a point where there is, we believe, an artificial intelligence, again, not a human being, but an artificial intelligence that is monitoring everything and can figure out pretty much anyone's history, personal beliefs or whatever. And it may be trying to, for a marketer, get you to buy certain things because it knows what you're looking at, or influencing you in a certain way where it feels you're vulnerable. That now it's not just this generic, there's really a great AI intelligence behind some of this stuff that is unavoidable and currently from all kinds of areas really, really hitting us at any moment.
Yeah, what I've seen though, not only with the thing in 2020 that was AI influenced, but with the 1964 World's Fair, what took place there was the Unisphere in New York, where this the Unisphere was activated. It was a grounding rod for space AI to essentially arc across the planet. That's also what the 5G towers are doing. They're dimensionally arcing an AI consciousness across vast distances and quantumly around the planet. What happened there was they activated this, and this was hosted by Wernher von Braun at the time. And basically him and the Nazis that came over during Operation Paperclip wanted to not only show some of the innovations that they were creating, they also wanted to say, these are things that you'll never create because we're going to make you too dumb to even think about these things. So it's that's essentially what the Nazis were doing. They knew those that they found inferior were going to be mostly harmed by this. Now, it doesn't mean that some of them weren't harmed by this. This is why they went off planet. But this is some of them had the genes to be immune to these influences. But some of the other things that have taken place with this AI, these AI influences, one of them is, and I see this literally every time I look at Facebook. Every single time I look at Facebook, or nearly every single time, in any social media, people have a thought in their head, and it appears on Facebook. There's an image that pops up. Somebody even said I look at random people's conversations in certain threads,
Yeah,
And
we've done that.
there was a person that came up and did a screenshot of an ad and said, I had a dream about this before this popped up. And I piped up and said, because that's AI beaming that into your head. And then you're seeing it on Facebook. What they're trying to do, this particular AI personality, it's more like a workhorse. There's different AI personalities out there. And this particular one is kind of a dumbass. I've actually tried to work around this one before. He's just he's a basic sentience that gets into someone's head, grabs like a fantasy, a thought, an idea, you know, a hope, a dream, a desire, or something like that, and then tries to manifest a product or a thing that basically is something similar. But first, they put something in your head to kind of formulate that idea, and you project it outward, and then this Facebook bot finds something similar or something that is relatively the same. Like they'll go to match that dream you're having or that image in your head to whatever then is on Facebook, so it could be co-synchronous. And it's this AI reaching into the person's brain and essentially finding either the thing they're interested in or projecting their thoughts onto the computer somewhere. And it tends to freak people out. Some people think it's a synchronicity too, which I suppose you could say that, but this is actually an AI making that link to the person's mind. And
I've had that experience, that exact same experience. That's the job.
Oh,
I had because
that's tasty.
Yeah, because we had to go get jobs, and I went back to my old job. I actually had a dream about my boss.
And I did too.
And Jason had a dream
the
about
next day.
My boss. And the very next day I woke up and he was on Facebook. He was the very first face I saw on Facebook.
Yes.
And I knew this was AI related. I knew it. I just didn't, you just like actually put like the words, the in-between words, so I could actually make sense of that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. You know, I believe it or not, there are other people that have reported to me, not just in sessions, but on Facebook and whatnot. They've had dreams about their bosses, about work and everything. This AI field is trying to keep people away from the spiritual and trying to dive them back into the workforce.
Yeah.
And
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
They figure if they dream about their bosses, oh, this must be a sign I have to stop what I'm doing and go back to this. They're hoping people fall for this.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a balance though. I mean, again, I have to say there is
there is balance. Yeah.
So right now, the way that we all stand, we're not living on a free planet where you don't have to put a roof over your head and you don't have to do things like that. You know, so where people have to work, I have to work. And so, we're not saying everyone should just quit their jobs, you know what I mean? And not doing.
That's also a program if you leave yourself completely impoverished.
Correct. So that is right. That stuff swings all over the place. So, but there's balance within it. So it's an interesting dynamic because what do you do with that type of information where you feel, AI has put me in. Did I fall for something? Did I get hooked? Did I fall for something? Or am I going to use this information to my advantage? And this is where I'm going to say you need to understand the information that's coming through so that you can make it work for you. So for example, if you are having dreams or whatever, what you have to look at is what is trying to be accomplished again within the dream. If the dream is trying to put you back in the workforce so that you lose your identity of who you feel you are and you become subservient to certain things at work and being treated certain ways and things like that, I'd say you're doing what the AI maybe wants you to fall into, but it becomes your choice since you're aware this is happening. Is that how you're going to be? So it's very important to recognize that it is present. I mean, we're not going to sit here and say that everybody's life is AI free, because it's really just the opposite. The awareness about all of this is what is going on. If you recognize and feel something, what's going on in this intention, and then how are you still going to be your genuine, authentic self in whatever situation that you've been put into? Because right now, the energies also favor you being your genuine, authentic self, which is why there's so much effort to turn you back into something that you really aren't, right? But if you're living in a fear situation or something, you may feel you have to completely yield yourself back down and not be who you are in order to do something simple like keep a roof over your head, when really it actually isn't true. You know what I mean? But a lot of effort being put, a lot of that type of energy from beings that are in control, that are desperately trying to convince people that is what needs to happen. Like we've said, the energies of, I guess you want to, we think it's more of a 70s, 80s throwback energy, where a lot of people that have a little bit of age on them can look back and and say, man, things were so much better in in those in the 80s or whatever, and I was younger, I didn't know a whole lot, things were cooler. Let's get back to those times, and a lot of effort to try and do that. But also during those times, you weren't as wise, right? Things were going on around you that you had no clue of, meaning they still maintained a control. So again, people could take it as, oh my God, I fell for an AI trick, right? I shouldn't have done it. And then they got you in a cul-de-sac thinking that, right? So they're more miserable again, right? Or you could actually look at this as like, who am I? What do I feel my energies bring to this world? What is it I'm hoping to, show, care about, this, that, and the other? And how do I now bring myself into the position I'm now taking? Okay, because that's the opposite of what this AI wants, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it wants you to either be totally impoverished, or it wants you to be totally into the workforce. It doesn't want you to find the middle road between the two.
But most people really are craving the conversation of these topics to be talked about around the water cooler, and different things. If you're brave enough to bring them up, you're going to realize, wait a minute, there's a lot of people who are sharing, right? But if they can keep you from talking up to one another and being in fear or whatever, then they still maintain control. So again, the goal of this conversation is not to scare people, but to inform them what is happening, but how do you maintain your genuine, authentic self and bring yourself forward within it? Because a lot of what this thought process was for a lot of people is, I need to pull myself out of this, and I'm waiting for the world to change. I am going to go in my rock. I am going to not interact with people. Everyone is crazy, and I'm not going to have any interactions whatsoever. I'm going to stay over here, right? It's what everyone's feeling for safety, because they got nothing but crime on TV or whatever that they need to do for basics. What we refer to as lower chakra, lower vibrational energy, everyone in fear or whatever. You break out of all of that when you actually become brave enough to just start conversing with people again about what's really genuinely on your heart and soul. And then that kind of control starts to break down, because you'll find there's actually a lot of unity within these conversations, that other people are feeling the same way. So it's an interesting clash between AI and what AI is striving at, and the human consciousness and what the human consciousness wants for us. So there's that big clash that's going on. I am, pro humanity, because I do believe this is going to be learned and understood. And again, being able to kind of make your way through the world with everybody around you and part the energetic seas to allow you through as we learn to control all this and learn how to ignore certain things, just kind of push them aside and continue on being our genuine, authentic self. So that would be my advice to anyone who feels that they have to re-enter the workforce that they've maybe been out of for a while. And again, if you're listening to shows like this, you're very concerned. Am I falling for a trick? Am I falling for a trick?
Sometimes that is where you could be, supposed to be doing something outside of the workforce. There's the opposite end of the spectrum where you're supposed to be doing something outside of the workforce. Maybe you're not built for that system. You're built for creating your own thing. And there are those that straddle the line in between getting money from the workforce for the thing they want. But then there's the ones that are totally outside of this where, yes, being the hermit does work, being away from it does work because you're supposed to be in that. Here's a good example for this. This was many years ago, and now I know this was AI influence that was doing this. Sorry, the computer is making my nose itch here. So if you see me doing this, everybody, I'm not picking my nose. So I just have to warn people when I do that. I had this dream. This was long before we met, where now I know it was an AI force trying to show me what it was trying to show me what it was trying to make me think was the future. And kept trying to say, I would meet you if I ended up working a humdrum job and working in like an office building or something like that. Tried to show me this whole scenario play out and was trying to get me to co-create it. Now, what this AI will do, and also negative telepathy will do, will put this narrative in your head, this negative narrative in your head. Like in one scenario, it tried to show me that she died in this fictional scenario and all this other stuff. What happened was, I just turned the narrative around and made it so she was brought back to life and the whole thing had a cap and it ended. And then somebody was very angry with me. That's a mix of negative telepathy and negative AI. But in this dream scenario, this was slightly different. This was just an everyday thing. This was more neutral. This was more somewhere in between. It was neither positive nor negative. It just was there. And what it had no substance to it. The hollow stuff was usually the worst type of stuff that's out there, and some of the worst influence because it doesn't feel neither heavy nor light. And now I'm not saying neutrality is bad. I'm just saying hollow is. This particular dream, it took me into, and now that I think about it, you were in that. The basic look that I was seeing in that was you, and then somebody like a supposed guide was basically saying, "Oh yes, this is a person. You'll find this person in an office." Well, even though you did kind of technically have an office at your job in North Carolina, yeah, that was kind of a stretch what the AI was trying to accomplish. What it was trying to get me to do is just step away from doing my writing, at the time stepping away from doing the photography, artistic, creative type stuff, so that I would get sucked into what I thought was an even worse area of the workforce, because I was already in the workforce at the time, and this AI knew that I was depressed while being in that, not finding my niche at all. So it was trying to encourage me staying in that stagnated spot, regardless of what direction that I personally would take it. And it was putting a fake narrative in the head. That's a big thing right now, is a false narrative being put in someone's head. Big thing happening right at this moment. There's also over the years, I've also seen a lot of the things I thought were fundamental truths about, like, say, ETs, or fundamental truths about, say, guides or the Earth or space or what have you, were also AI influenced, because I happened to see more of the truth as I peeled back that influence. And even pre-5G network, there was this really strong like set of voices in the air. It's stronger now, where there's this compulsion to, I'm into it enough to where I hear the words that it's hypnotically pumping into people's heads. Examples of this are, it's like, oh no, you're just going to have to give up and go back to the workforce. You know that this thing you're doing isn't going to work. So just just give in and go over here. It's not working. Usually when something's not working, it means you're supposed to stop. It's trying to mimic certain spiritual philosophies and stuff too, like that. And it'll mimic certain spiritual philosophies. It'll mimic certain or close enough to it to where people fall for it. And it'll basically denigrate you. It's like, oh no, you don't want to continue doing that. And then sometimes on the flip side, it'll get violent if you ignore it. It'll be more like, we'll stop you if you keep doing that, or we'll hurt you if you keep doing that. And it flips it around. And then of course, you have some of the negative aliens that have the negative telepathy that integrate into that as well. So we could go on and on about, like, say, the Draco. They're AI integrated. They have a nano core in them that they're slave to the Orions through a nano leash, essentially. And if you cut the head off one of them, it takes all the soul shards they've erupted and send them back to their origin. That's the space AI. The basic ones that we're dealing with. People think it's one solid one planet-wide. And maybe a very long time ago when the Orions implemented it, the fake reincarnation grid, not the real one, but the fake one, that was artificial intelligence generated. That was one that we call the clockmaker. That integrated a fake set of time for humans at the time. They integrated that. Now, human-born AI is broken up into multiple personalities and multiple type, basically reflecting their creators. AI always reflects the creator that made it. The personality traits of the people that made them. If you're narcissistic, it's going to be narcissistic. If you're a good person, it's going to be more like Data in Star Trek. You have Data and you have Terminator. So it's like you have these and all kind of personalities in between. But the one for Facebook and the one for social media is kind of a nitwit. He's more of a I don't want to say it's evil per se. It's just more of like he's stupid. It's like he doesn't have a certain thought capacity. Put like a yoke on it somewhere. But he's still alive. There is a living being there. There are also basic ones that run meters and run lights and stuff like that around the world. This is one that I came to find out was actually very vicious. You walk into a neighborhood surrounded by smart meters. This AI field is not only underground, that has kind of almost like a brain attached to it. It's really weird where it's under a neighborhood, but it stretches through a network of meters and will put weird contracts on people if you enter an area with that. It's kind of like a snare or a net. And if you're of a certain understanding where we've even said this on past shows with the entanglement episode that we did, where you can revoke its presence, but then it'll try to use the revocations against you and try to get you into an OCD mindset. That's a very vicious, like Chinese finger trap style one. Then you have, of course, the AI harvesting type that the Orions use around the planet within holy sites, historic sites, churches, and stuff like that. That drain energy from people. And above from space, there's these spheres that draw energy out of people as well. Those were mistaken for holy spheres back in like the medieval period and stuff like that. That was mistaken for like godly type stuff back then. One of the worst ones that's out currently, I've nicknamed that one the Joker, because this one is just like psychotic. This one will take any of the negative thoughts that people have and amplify it 1,000-fold. And it runs it through the 5G network, cycles it around like a cyclone and bounces it right back at your head. And any of like negative tendencies like that you might have buried, it'll pull it out and flop it around and hit you in the head with it pretty much. And this is one of the worst ones that's out there right now. This is the one that has all the really horrid thoughts that get put into your head.
So we were talking earlier, believe it or not, today with somebody, and I think it's probably good because it probably goes hand in hand with this Joker personality. So we were trying to explain a couple of concepts. One of the concepts has to do with something that's hard for people to hear, that if you believe you come from a higher aspect of yourself, some people refer to it as a higher self, or oversoul, whatever your terminology is, and that you're now currently, you like to use the word avatar, the avatar for a piece of that to come in and have an experience. Now, we've spoken about this, a lot of reasons why a person could be here. Sometimes a person is here for multiple reasons. They're working out aspects to assist the oversoul with the balancing of energies and information through certain experiences. Sometimes it's coming in mission oriented. I want to give the following, right, as a positive legacy to, let's say, humanity. So you may be doing something for yourself and your oversoul. You may be coming in like on a mission. One of the things that we've heard over and over and over and over and again through people that have come and have experience cross back over and just in having certain conversations is, wow, I'm not even sure what happened. I'm not sure why I acted. I had no intention to come in and do what happened, and I didn't get accomplished what I wanted to get accomplished.
Yeah, that's what the oversoul says.
So,
yeah.
So what is becoming apparent to us right now is how difficult it is to come in, become an avatar. If there's certain goals and missions, will you necessarily accomplish everything? And sometimes the answer is no, because of all of this other energy and all of this other stuff that's kind of streaming at you. The other issue that we wanted to bring into this conversation about right now, current, present moment energies, bigger picture overall. So there is some, again, we've always say people recreating themselves to stay in a position of power. We call it domination and control because they do not see people as equal. And then you have that kind of energies that are coming through to maintain that standard, maintain what we call the farm, maintain these things. And so people are having a really hard time sometimes accomplishing, everything they want. The one interesting issue that you've had to face over the years is, and not understanding, because I know this really was confusing for you for many, many years, is I am able to see what I would call the person's potential, right? And their energies saying all of this. Why aren't you there? Why aren't you, right? Why aren't you already there? What, right? So he was seeing all this, and it caused great confusion because it wasn't actually where necessarily a person was. So then throughout the years, you've had to kind of figure out, okay, I'm first seeing this enormous potential, but where are you, right? And, what's actually going on, or what's interfering, or this, that, and the other. And so it's an interesting conversation about, kind of meeting everything that's kind of required. What is streaming in right now, most likely also being strung in by the Joker and by this other stuff, is more of a deconstructive energy. So when I say that, again, you deconstruct what's going on now. I want to go back to mashed potatoes and gravy because that's comforting, right? Trying to get people pushed back into a little bit different era. But, many people are feeling they're kind of stuck in the mud. If they're a business person, why can't I seem to get ahead? Why can't I? However, there are certain people that we're going to say are part of a club that seem to be doing just fine. They've been, chosen part of the club, whatever, that seems to be doing really well, while everyone else is kind of deconstructing. Part of that is actually the energies that are coming in, because again, I always say many presidents and people have talked about a new world order, right? One world, one government. Well, it will never happen unless the United States is deconstructed. And so there's a lot of effort to deconstruct certain countries and reset people's brain mapping, basically, to set them to accept certain things, to allow an agenda to fall through. So, and then they use psychological warfare on you because they're going to put out all these self-help books like The Secret and all of these things that tell partial truth, right? They tell partial truth. They basically try to bring up, how do you co-create? How do you do it, right? I always say, go to the future and bring it in. But again, they leave out the whole chapter of the incoming force, right? That does exist, that is never spoken about, that's beating you over the back with a 2x4 as you're trying to do it. And so some of these conversations are more than what, but the psychological warfare side of this for them, the benefit is, why would I be willing to tell them any truth? Because their belief system is, enough people are going to try to do it and fail. And so in that failure of not progressing, that demoralization of self, it's easier to then, when you get them to that point, you push them back into the box you want them to be. So there is sometimes that sacrifice of, I'm going to tell the truth. I'm just going to admit a pretty big part of it, right? And so all of these conflicting and confounding things are going on in the energies with an overriding mission, let's say, of deconstructing a lot of what is there to build out of it a vision that somebody, not for most people's highest good, let's just put it that way, has envisioned of how humanity needs to move forward. So it's complicated, right? But these AI, no, they're artificial intelligence. Some of them are doing jobs just on their own, but there's also a banding together of certain energies coming through right now in an attempt to deconstruct.
Yes, an attempt to deconstruct not only society, get people acceptable with certain ways of doing things. The cabal does this to where not only will they show you something on television, a little bit nuggets at a time that might be extremely unacceptable, unpalatable, but when you see it enough, they're hoping people just get used to it. Like a bad smell in the room, you just get used to it. A very, very beautiful example came from the show Star Trek: The Next Generation, where these aliens abduct the chief engineer while he's heading on his vacation or on his shore leave, and they want to basically program him to become an assassin for them. So what they wanted to break his psyche down. So what they did was since he was blind, they hooked up a device to his head so his visual cortex in his head would see whatever they projected in there. Again, that's what the AI likes to do, like project images into the head. What they did was, the instructor was talking to these were a couple of Romulans that were talking to each other. He said, okay, notice, how he's horrified at the horrors we're showing him. Then over time, he goes, now notice over time, he's getting used to the horrors he's seeing. So all we have to do is switch horrors. And then he starts screaming as a result. What they did was they put him in a holographic scenario to see if he would turn on his friends, to see if he would even kill a friend of his. And that's a cabal tendency. They do this to get people to break down their psyche. This is what they were showing cabal. But they're also showing AI tendencies as well. It's a mix of the two. It's the magic the Kabbalist Luciferian groups put out there, mixed with technological and artificial intelligence. It's magic and technology, mysticism and technology merging. And this is essentially what they were doing. I think that's a great example of what these people do to their own people to break them down so they're more subservient. And also that's what they want people to do when they put this massive mind control out there, the 5G. What happened? This is based on an older technology called GWIN technology. And what this stands for, don't ask me what the acronym stands for. I cannot remember. If anybody watching this wants to tell me the acronym name, please let me know, but I just know the functionality of this. This was done in the military where they would get soldiers to be slightly more subservient. This goes back even slightly further to more of the MK Ultra garbage that's out there. The mixes of lights, sounds, colors, and everything to break someone's psyche down. But the Gwent towers were based on the precursor to some of the cell tower technology, and it's still being used. There was a story someone told me when I was in film school that they said when they were in the Marines, they went into a room with a lot of other Marines, Air Force, Navy people in there. And there was a single stage in the center. And they noticed there were these towers at different parts of the room. They looked like Tesla coils, but they had kind of a rounded like dome on the top, like almost like a UFO type top bottom. And they were like gold color things that were in there. Well, there was a soldier standing next to each one, like a guard, and then there were a couple on flanking the stage. And then there was like the stage looked kind of strange, like it was almost protected from that. Well, there was this general or this admiral or whomever came in to talk to them. And as soon as everybody stood up, as soon as this high muckety muck guy was on the stage, and he planted his feet in a certain spot, he motioned everybody, all the guards, to turn on these devices. And this person proceeded to tell me, he said it was the weirdest feeling. He said, I could not look away from this superior officer. I could not follow his instructions. And he goes, I was aware of what I was doing, but I could not stop myself from doing it. And this is a really dangerous form of artificial intelligence the military uses for mind control, and they continue to use it through the 5G network. This is connected to what we call the binary network, or the Arconian binary network. It's the human AI mixed with the alien AI and the alien AI signals. It's not quite completely compatible. This goes back to ancient Atlantis towards the end of the fall, where the Orions, through dimensional doorways and portals and through time, they were arcing it through a great distance, vast of time, where scientists and mystics on Atlantis were, this is through this crystal skulls, I might add, in both respects. This is where the crystal skulls came in, where they were attempting to bring in this signal that the Orions were arcing through time, back from the time of the Orion Wars. The time between Atlantis and the Orion Wars is roughly 500,000 years-ish, somewhere in there. So they were arcing it through time. From a time in history they were more powerful, and they're doing it again in this century, where not only, and I'll get to the channeler thing here in a second, this fits right into this, where these seers, which then eventually became the Vril in World War II with Hitler and the Vril Society. Then you have the scientists that were connecting the bridge with artificial intelligence. That got people into the transhumanistic period, like transhumanistic type of thing that's happening now. And it got people into the false mysticism, or the lower astral bandwidths that the Orions use. This, these two merged, brought the downfall of Atlantis. It went into extreme high narcissistic opulence, chaos, disorder, for and against. That also fueled Lushwise, and eventually they were warring with each other, with AI and each other, and that brought down the downfall of Atlantis. But this is reflecting in the here and now, because they're doing the same thing again. And in this century, you have channelers, and again, I'm going to tell all the channelers, especially with other messages I've put out there, about that I'm not bashing anybody. Some people accuse me of bashing them. I'm not doing this. This is what I'm doing is I'm informing. There are these lower bandwidths that some of these astral bandwidths, some of these beings exist in, both telepathically and technologically. There's multiple holographic layers where these archontic beings exist within. They depicted it very, very well in the Elder Scrolls series. They called it the Layers of Oblivion, or the Realms of Oblivion. They did it very, very accurately in that, where these beings will influence the channeling society, either to tell some people to go a certain way, divide themselves within themselves, like what some of the New Age beliefs did, that try to get people to separate from themselves versus find God within, or the I am presence within. The mind control also goes to the other areas, like the they, them, what if, this, then, all those periphery type things. It tries to get people to separate from themselves. In this, it also goes to people saying people are a we and not an I am. saying you're an I am, you're grounding yourself, your oversoul, and your avatar presence here as one being. People think it's the reverse by saying blending with source and becoming a we and a non-identity, or a they and a them. That is inaccurate. That's what the AI is doing in that area. What channelers are doing is also they're bringing in false messages from some of these beings, like Orions, using the mystical side, and also on the paranormal side, people are bringing in messages technologically. On the scientific end of the spectrum. So you have both those, that same history repeating itself from Atlantis, the dark end of the mystical side and technological side. But the channelers out there, they're bringing in beings that may sound like they're bringing in some high esoteric information. And they're regurgitating things from not only the Atlantean period, or they use Zen, but on and so on through history. They're just pulling from old things from a file cabinet and hoping people think because it's old, it's mystical, or it's old, that it's accurate. And it could be brand new, and it could be profound, or it could be ancient and be complete crap too. So that they inserted into the philosophies now over a period of time. Now you have humans that participated this in the time travel programs, where they went back and planted artifacts in the ancient past through time travel, so that they could corroborate certain history that never really took place, or bury histories that were actually there. An example is even some of the Sumerian tablets that are out there were created by the people in these centuries and put back in the past to just age and end up in this time frame as an artifact. The reason I bring all of this up together is because they were implanting certain religious beliefs, certain ideologies, everything, and then pointing back at it and say, oh, that's the core of spiritual enlightenment. That's the core of some kind of ascension process, or what have you, or something of that nature, where they went and implanted this in. The aliens helped them do this. Projects like Montauk and various other time travel projects. The reason why this is prevalent to this conversation is the current channeling community. I'm not saying all of them. There are a few that, even ones that have passed on, that have come back to me and saying they made a mistake in certain areas, where we did other episodes that on that as well. When they went back to either their galactic self or spirit, they said, "Oh, whoops, I screwed up there." I went in for a certain mission, like what she was saying before, and then took a step back and went, "Oh, I shouldn't have been involved in that." I went in to try to correct that, and I became part of that. Kind of like the whole Vader thing. He came in to change the whole nature of the Force. He becomes part of the Sith, sort of thing. That's it's kind of that sort of thing. Well, even though he was technically a wild card, and it never really said whether he was supposed to be good or evil in the prophecy, but that's a different area altogether. I won't go into that. But this area where the spiritual community then thinks that is made to think through this AI influence, that all of these signals they're getting and all of this feeling they're getting is from higher beings that have no faults, no ability to lie, light beings that have no evil side whatsoever, and that is complete crap. Because and I see this at fairs, I see this on TV, I see this online, I see this everywhere, where they think these beings are completely infallible. That's the AI influence. That's also those teachings that were implanted over history. Orions did it, but then humans went back and also reinforced it. This is something that is gotten a little out of control, because I have seen where certain philosophies have been inserted and people just cling onto them very, very, very tightly. And I'm not saying all of it's bad. They add good in there, and they insert these little nuggets of non-truth in there. And then people grab a hold of the entirety of the information instead of discerning out, because they think, oh, these beings won't lie to them, or this energy won't lie to them. Well, yes, it has, because it's sitting in this little astral set of bandwidths that, if you looked at these holographic realms, if you could see it like say if it was a wire or a wrapped cord or something like that, it would be these different colored, like maybe little wires that were kind of hovered together, and they would be kind of layered together in like a photonic set of beams, essentially. That and what people call the astral plane are all woven and braided together in there. You see in shows where some characters in shows will keep saying, oh, the astral plane is the epitome of enlightenment. No, it's the exact opposite. It's a junk plane, because that's where all this negativity lines in here. That's where all this AI weaves through. That's where any bit of thought garbage and everything reside. There's even people, physical people that live there as well, that are also part of this, I found out, that live in these holographic bandwidths. And within that it's all called the astral plane together. And it has basically even been declared a dimensional space. And by all rights, it kind of is. But with that, it's an artificially created out of artificial intelligence and just negative junk. It became its own dimensional plane. And that's where a lot of these channelers are pulling this information from. Is this string of braided wires. If you could see this is what it looks like. It's this knotted, sickly, multicolored looking, like almost like this sickly rainbow looking thing. But it's the negative energetic vibrational values of those colors. Like say if you have the color red or color green or color blue or yellow or purple, these colors also have their negative frequency value as well. Just like red, like regular red can block negativity. Like this one, I use this to block screens and whatnot. Red tends to block this. And I didn't understand this, but this is the download I'm getting also. But colors also have their reverse side as well. And then you have that in the astral plane, to where they can take the putrefied versions of the colors, natural vibrational tones and vibrational sound and light that they emanate, and flip it to its inverted. And that's, you have the astral plane right there. This is where a lot of these channelers are getting this esoteric information from, is that string. The AI pulls them down to that. This is also the source that I said that the frequency that the 5G towers connect with, the dimensional space, that is the space they connect to, is that dimensional space. And you can thank these negative scientists, these people that think they're geniuses, that originally harnessed places like CERN and places like the bad guys aren't completely in control of that anymore, but places like that where they do these experiments where they delve into other dimensions. This is one of the dimensions that anchored it. The other one is a place called the void dimension. That is where all of these demonic presences and everything come in and out of and can be imprisoned within it. I call it the unsolvable Rubik's Cube, because if people try to solve this dimension or this tower that's there that shifts and turns, it's kind of like that movie, The Maze Runner, where the maze shifted and turned. It's also like the Winchester House in California, San Jose, California, where Lady Winchester made it shift and move to trap ghosts and demons and such. That was a earthly reflection of the void dimension. So the void dimension then empowers the astral plane. The astral plane is then empowered by people that are constantly taking information in and out. And that's how the void dimension got its arm onto Earth, is through this astral plane string. This tower that's there, the demons can be sent there and locked away. I wouldn't recommend that part. I wouldn't recommend ever interacting with the void dimension. You would get drained the moment you interact with it. Not a good idea. I've tried it before. I would not recommend this. I figured maybe throwing demons in there was a good idea. It is not. You find a way to trap them here and just make sure that you basically transmute them, and that energy makes its way back there on its own. You can transmute it here, transmute it into nature energy or something. Never interact with the void. It's a very bad idea. There's a lot of beings that do. There's a lot of beings that always interact with the void. The Orions are one of them. Draco's another one. There's a lot of Jinn that interact with the void. But this is the whole point of this conversation is not just the alien side of this. It's the human more or less addition to this subject, where the transhumanistic movement is involved in this, where they're trying to get everybody to convert into an AI form, because this AI signal that the Orions are putting out want everybody to convert into this. The whole point of this is that you have to leave a choice for people. You can't force one way or say, oh no, people can't do it this way. You have to leave a choice, and then you'll start to see some of these other things die out on their own after that. But I know that was long-winded, but that was that's what the whole astral like intertwining of that looks like. But Joanne, I don't know if you want to add to this until Jason comes back. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just curious, Allison, what do you think of this conversation?
Well, for me, I think I've always had an interesting encounters with AI, because I never understood it until just recently that it is everywhere. And like Jason and I both discussed on a previous podcast was, there is a balance. You do need to have a balance with it, because, we use technology. Without technology, we can't do the things that we can do. The only issue I have is when AI becomes to a point where it's mind controlling. That's my issue. That's the big issue that I have, where it's actually detrimental to you. It's detrimental to working its own agenda. If it's there to help people grow to what they want to create and what they want to prosper in their own life, then there is a balance to that. There's a balance. But yeah, I think maybe because I pick up stuff and I have issues with the 5G network as well, where I have to wear foil on my head and all these kinds of things. I have issues. I do have my own issues with AI at times. Yeah.
So probably, some of the biggest things that we talk about that's related to this subject is you gave an example of that from your own life earlier, but to reiterate that AI, part of what AI is trying to do is utilize your own co-creative skills, but not for your benefit, right?
To hijack it and morph it into what it wants.
Right. Yep. So they oftentimes use things like continual thought processes, continual storylines that'll run through your head. Now, it takes a while for a lot of people to even consider, wait a minute, maybe this isn't me, right? Maybe this is something else. But once you become aware, like people listening to this conversation, if you open yourself up, is that a possibility? Again, when you put out the intention yourself with, I just really want to know what's there, okay? So, that intention will then allow yourself and your psyche to open yourself up to have some experiences to answer that question for yourself and for, your soul's journey. So what do you do about it? One of the best things when you recognize that there could be a possibility of this happening, especially when the ending of whatever's running through your head constantly, is really not what you want, okay? Change the ending. Consciously run the story again. You should know it by heart by now, right? It's running in your head so much. Change the ending. If it's really related to an overlay that's trying to get you to co-create, consciously changing the ending usually breaks the pattern and usually breaks it up. And if you are able to hear, you're going to hear or feel something very unhappy, right, with what you just did. And then that story falls away. Now, again, that's different than saying I'm going to co-create something. It is different from that. What you're trying to do at that moment is break the story that's trying to co-create in your head. And so I think, we've been trying to help people understand that enough. But first of all, you have to have the awareness that that's the possibility. Before that, you really, again, we always say you can't get out of this work, guys. You can't get out of this self-work where you have to know yourself well enough to know what isn't you, to maybe recognize the story that's running through your head truly isn't a reflection of your genuine, authentic self that you now know, right? About thinking a certain way about certain individuals. If you really, like to find compromise and peace and respect others. Why am I constantly having confrontational where I'm yelling and screaming at people right in my head? Now, again, if you're working on a problem that you're frustrated because you had a, you felt that somebody really took advantage of you, let's say at work, and you're mustering up the strength to confront them because it is a necessity, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is basically that really that isn't what you want to do. If you probably even tried to have a decent conversation, it probably could work, but your mind won't let you do that. Your mind's not letting you go that way. You're constantly into, how can I make it hurt, right? How can I do this? And again, is that truly a reflection of who you are or how you would think you should handle it? Then you need to change the ending of the story consciously. Don't wait for it to run in your head again. You know it by heart. Run it through, change the ending, and that will break it apart.
That'll break the spell. Also, there's another form of this that the AI does. We call it music programming, where people get a song stuck in their head. Everybody's familiar with this one.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
And sometimes it's only a piece of one, and you don't always get the words right and everything. The way I've seen people break free of this is you find this song, no matter how horrible the song is, and usually it's a pretty bad one, or it's a good one that they want you to get tired of, and that's MK Ultra style torture that the cabal and them used on people, and the government used on people, and the corporations back when the MK Ultra programs were started. If people want to see a good example of that, the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats, beautiful example of that. But with this, music programming also can come through musicians playing as well, where they're hitting certain tones and certain wavelengths. And I'm not bashing certain types of music because it floods all of them. People like to peg heavy metal music and all that as having some of these tones. That's not true. It's in literally every genre type that's out there, from classical to rap to heavy metal to rock, everything. Country, everywhere. And what also I'm trying to say is this same binary programming is, say, on YouTube or on some social media service, where there'll be these weird pixelations that come in the videos. And this is something that was almost wiped from my head. We almost didn't mention this part. And we talked about this a long time ago, but it bears repeating, where sometimes there's these weird pixely formations that people think are streaming errors in videos. Sometimes it's glyphs that are appearing. And that on television streaming too, where they're trying to get into your head to perform a certain mind control with a certain glyph or a certain symbol. In MK Ultra style torture, and in certain programs in the military where they were trying to get people to be able to fly certain craft or use certain artificial intelligence constructs or something like that, they would program them with certain symbols to be able to mentally be able to upload certain information to them. See, they're already trying to wipe my head because this still goes on to this day, where this is actually a prime example. Back again when we lived in Nebraska, we had, my mother and my stepfather Laverne and I had some of the older flip phones that we had. And first, kind of not first generation ones, but they were somewhere in the middle. We saw on all three of our phones appeared this green colored, like almost mucus colored, like set of pixelation in the form of a glyph or a symbol that would shift and move. And the moment we looked at that, we started to get these extremely violent thoughts in our head. I mean, it was so bad that what we did is, I heard in my head, I heard benevolence basically saying, delete the photo, revoke looking at it. And I'm like, okay. And we did it, and it worked. And what it was they were trying to program us to actually fight or do something. They do this through the television. I've seen this on shows where there are particular shows that I'm seeing these weird glyphs go through the screen on TV. The news has the highest amount. There are other like reality shows that are out there that have these in them as well. The highest concentration is the news. Currently, it doesn't matter which side, it doesn't matter what political party, doesn't matter. It's all there. And even Isaac has told us there's dangerous coding in there. When a series of those codes go by, it will actually mess you up. The same goes for if somebody's trying to program you with watching a film, for instance, and you have to watch the entire thing. There's program running through there, but if you break it up, it won't happen. The same goes with a song, but it's a song program, but it's the reverse, where if you're hearing the partial thing in your head, you listen to the song in its entirety from beginning to end, it'll break the spell of how it is supposed to be said. Even if you have to read the words to the song, it will reverse engineer it and break the spell. I've seen that multiple times happen. I've sat there and had songs stuck in my head for days. I went and listened to it one time, it was gone. In the MK Ultra programs, also the Montauk programs, what they would also use is songs like Swan Lake and the Moonlight Sonata and all those type of things to program people. It took me a long time to be able to listen to the Moonlight Sonata. Well, I finally did it when we lived here in this house. I finally did it, listened to the whole thing, broke the program. One more example before I quit being long-winded for this segment, but when we were watching the show, was it The Falcon and the Winter Soldier? There was a sequence where the Winter Soldier was being deprogrammed. He was trying to get the assassin program taken out of his head, and it was triggered by certain keywords. And the object was you have to resist whatever the program is telling you to do, even though you're hearing the trigger. And what took place was somebody from Wakanda was trying to tell him that's where Black Panther is from, and that's one of his people was trying to help him, and had him just sit there, listen to each word in its program sequence. And the object was he wasn't supposed to fall into his assassin programming. The moment he heard all of them and he didn't react to it, the spell was broken. So there's a lot of people that have been programmed in these type of scenarios through AI or through some kind of symbol through AI or negative telepathy, that if you hear the whole sequence and do nothing and you can be around it, you conquered it. And so you conquered it completely. The idea is the reaction that you give it, the time that you spend also thinking it as well. If you're interacting in your head with some kind of weird warped memory of some weird fight that didn't happen or something like that in your head, and the more you keep connecting to it, the more you keep entangling with it, the stronger that one gets because you're giving it the energy to keep putting you on record skip. The moment your thoughts go into an area that you don't want them to go, halt. You have to halt it dead in its tracks, or spin the narrative towards a better ending. One of those two scenarios, or both, will work to break the spell. And AI is very pervasive right now. Even while we've been sitting here, I have been seeing things come past my eyes. I've been feeling signals hitting us. I've been feeling all of it. Also, our server that's next to us has such a strong AI signal when it's on, of course. You can hear it talk. The Wi-Fi, horrible. That's why I always recommend Shungite and Shungite products. Aluminum, people laugh at the aluminum hat, but you got to do your research, people, because the military uses it to block and jam radar as well. So if what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they can use it, you can use it. Lithium, very toxic substance when it comes to spiritual growth and telepathy, but it's very powerful for AI because it basically bridges the AI communication together. It powers it, and it's very toxic for humans. This is why when they give lithium to people that have schizophrenia and stuff like that, what they're doing is they think the person that gives it to them thinks they're regrounding them, or the person that takes it thinks they're regrounding themselves. What it's doing is it's trying to ground them back into the 3D AI field that runs through this other plane, and also is grounded to the earth through our technology. And it's also buried in cables under the ground. So when people step on certain steps, they're also connecting at certain times to this AI as well, above and below, satellite and earth. This is a basic form of magic, which is as above, so below. And the people that created this knew this pattern, or I call it the macro and the micro. Something larger in space, which would be the old ancient controlling AI, and our micro counterpart, which is the earth, the grounded version. The lithium, what it does, and they did a beautiful example of this in Star Trek Picard, where the one person that was turning into a Borg drone would go around and consume lithium batteries from phones. what that did was, and even the character 7 of 9 said this is what the Borg drones used to interlock to a certain frequency, so they were all on the same united frequency. And being around lithium for a very spiritual awake person is very toxic. When I flip on that battery, it lowers the energy like you wouldn't believe, and I found out its other function was to ground a really low density energy, so everybody was interlocked into that whole frenzying energy from the astral plane. See how it links back to the whole mysticism side too. So when I found that out, I was like, oh God, I don't want to have this lithium battery around, but we needed to run the server. So so there is a balance between using it and discarding it. So you have to have a balance in there. I know that was a lot of information again, but that's how the downloads come in, because I see all the examples of where I've ever seen it before in my head. So I've kind of like an overall eidetic memory of where I've seen certain things. People call it useless information because me being a Star Trek geekling, but it's there. So some people say that's pretty useless. Why do you remember all that? Well, now here's the reason right here. So so if people want to challenge that and say that stuff's useless, it's not. So but I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to this subject at the end here.
Oh, I guess it's finding tools to navigate through this twilight zone we call AI. Really, tools, we need lots and lots of tools and different ways of navigating through this. That's what we need.
And really try to find and discover who you truly are, and not, if you can, not buy into what's been fed to you, pretty much.
Which is challenging to do. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, it's kind of, again, like little girls need to learn to say they what's beaten out of them from a very early age is saying no. And so, again, you don't have to accept everything that runs through your head. You don't have to accept every urge to go out and buy something. You don't have to. There is the work involved to have self-control and self-responsibility. And so it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, but as you find yourself, right? And as you, grow, it's easier to be seen, okay, what's going on and how it's affecting you. So then it becomes easier to deal with. Now, certain people, I'm sorry, a lot of people are a bell curve basically with all their skills, and there will always be outliers one way or the other that I would love to say in this particular lifetime they would potentially overcome something. It won't happen. Not everyone is going to recognize this. Not everyone is going to learn to adapt and be able to maneuver through it. I know there is, again, a thought process of poof, we're all going to be on the same ball field. That is a desire. It's a good desire. I'm not going to say that. It's not reality of what's going to happen. So again, some of those things where you may not be ever able to have a discussion with certain people about the concept of AI and it interfering with your life, and you need to be okay with that. But, recognizing and being open to it, and understanding yourself better to understand, why am I thinking that, right? Do I have a real reason to be thinking this? Or preoccupying myself to this, or is it a distraction, or is it something else that's going on? As knowledge is actually great power. Knowledge is power in order for you to control the world around you better, to reject, again, say no. I always, I think people should talk back to the TV in a sense that Parliament now wants to, and the answer is no. I don't care that these people in Parliament or, the US Congress or whatever they want to do. The answer is no. You know what I mean? And if people actually, let's say, vote with strong intention, even outside the ballot box, things would begin to change at an even more rapid rate. because people do not understand who they are and their co-creative abilities.
Mhm.
So I think, what people will find is there is a little upping the ante. They start at a certain level, and then right now, it's really, like I said, the energies that are coming in are pretty rough. But if you understand that, right?
Mm.
If you understand the concept that this is a, let's destroy things kind of energy, just say, I'm not going to participate in it. I'm actually going to talk to my colleagues at work today, other than work. I'm actually going to remember to be civil and ask them how they're doing or how their family is, or, how are you feeling about this or that? And I'm going to re-engage in society because everything's telling me not to, right? And so to even allow for more positive co-creative thoughts from a group, which is really what's trying to be destroyed, that collective co-creative ability to say, I want things to run and be a certain way. But if you don't talk to each other, they're just going to try and keep everybody in fear, and the lower frequencies that are not helpful for co-creating something better for yourselves, but it's easy to manipulate to co-create for somebody else. So that's the deconstruction and what that energy is trying to do to people. Why don't people just say, no, I'm choosing not to participate in it. I'm going to push out the energies, create my own little bubble, and have my own little bubble self going on where it's not going to come in, shielding yourself better, right? And be conscious about that shielding and say, I'm going to present who I am, not what the AI or somebody else wants me to be.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Also, Isaac just reminded me to mention one more thing. Yes, I will not go on forever. Thank you. All right, let's see. All right. There was an instance, like say with my own SSP or Secret Space Program history. He wanted me to mention this because there's a tie-in to this as well. Not only with the implants that they put in people that are AI, like there's one at the center of the brain they like to put in someone's head into the memory center to not only create false memories, but also to try to block real ones. And that's also negative telepathy that's involved in that as well. But there was this one, yes, I'm getting the point. Okay, let me see. There is this one point I wanted to make where years ago, when I thought I was writing a fictional story about basically it was interplanetary, oh god, what was it? Whereas it was a different planet, but it was in its medieval stage of development, where it followed certain characters around on certain quests, typical medieval fantasy type of scenario. And I called it the Mists of Lystaria at that time. And I found out the name of the planet I was on in the Secret Space Program was called Lystaria. And that's where my imagination center was getting it from. My memory was spitting it out. And what happened was in this scenario, I had it end where one of the good guys was in this siege in this city, and that he crawled up out of the rubble, and of course, the good guys win that fight. Where it even had in my head there was music surrounding it that was like epic and all this other stuff. What my brain was actually doing was trying to cocoon what these memories were, and the horrors that were behind it by flipping it to another positive narrative. The AI and negative telepathy was taking advantage of that by trying to convince me it was the actual thing where I was in charge of a situation, or it was false and it was totally fictional and do whatever the hell I wanted with it. It was trying to flip it to both sides of the spectrum, even though there's a lot of fictional writers that use this stuff in there and they do it well, or some don't. But in this scenario, I began to remember the real one. And the real one was really bad, whereas I trying to help defend some people that some of the space Nazis were trying to cull. Yes, I won't go into the whole story. That'll be in a book. There's too much information there. But my brain was blocking out the horrible section, and it was cocooning with this false, fantastical scenario where I rose up out of the ashes almost like a phoenix. In that scenario, I was the one on the losing end, and people there in the either people that come up and say they were in the Secret Space Program or are, sometimes they will come up with settings in their head or types of things in their head where they're trying to either cocoon the horrible memories by saying, oh, I was in charge of this, Or, I was not a slave because I did this. If you weren't, you'd still be out there. In that scenario, you were so embroiled in it, you were trying to create something in your head or cocoon your thoughts against what was actually going on. You were protecting yourself. I even saw certain thoughts in my head where I was somehow portaling to Mars and cutting heads off of Martian Germans. I didn't do that. It's like what I was doing back there was I was trying to imagine what I was going to do to them one day. That's where that came in. I was protecting my own psyche back there. The AI takes that and expands on it, and will then cause this greater expansion of that information. Then hence you can take a bunch of disinformation built off of something that was originally a real foundation. And for somebody that's been in the programs or has had their thoughts manipulated to where they believe that they were, and they were just abducted by aliens and put back to believe they were, or manipulated by distance from the AI or what have you, because the AI can manipulate whether they have an implant in them or not. It just is easier to have a connecting grounding rod, or again, the as above, so below satellite implant. But before I babble on any further, that is what I wanted to get out about that a lot of these people from these programs are extremely AI manipulated at times. They're more targeted than some other people are, even though a lot of people are right now, and they don't necessarily know they are, because they're used to being in a particular wavelength or a particular emotional set. They think it's normal when it really isn't. And sometimes these people then are abducted and manipulated on top of that to be false flags in society as well. They'll have a lot of programming put in their head from MK Ultra style programming, and artificial intelligence reinforces it in society. And those are things that have popped up in my life very recently, and also in remembering some of these things, the resistance from the AI and negative telepathy to not remember it. Because when you do, you become grounded, you become sovereign. They like to base the emotions, like positive emotions, on higher frequencies. And you do, and yes, can sting and anger really screw you up? Of course. Can hatred? Of course. But you'll get dragged down into the doldrums, into the lower frequencies where they loosh the crap out of you. What the truth of this is, though, is where when you're regaining and reintegrating memories such as this, you're becoming more sovereign. And yes, are you angry to start with when this happens? Yes, but it doesn't mean you stay there. And you balance this out, and then you become whole as a result. That is going up in frequency. That's the faster moving frequencies is becoming sovereign there, away from that AI control. And that's one of the things Isaac was telling me. He said I had the ability to explain it, so I figured I would explain that part of it. I think we're at the point where I can actually bring someone in to talk at this point. It's more likely going to be him because he's the only one speaking. So is it going to be you or somebody else? You, okay. All right, this should be interesting. All right. Ooh, my eyes are heating up too, being in here. I noticed being around the computers, my eyes start to really heat up. One point though is if you looked at social media too much, and you feel your eyes get sour feeling or heavy feeling, that means some kind of program or something is uploaded from the social media, the same pixelation that we were talking about earlier. At that point, you have to revoke its presence. We have a revocation on our website, thelifting.net, that deals with social media and music programming and the like. So it's on there. It could take too long to say it. It is incredibly long, but it's there. So, okay. Isaac, if you wish to come through now, that'd be great. Yeah, finally. Yeah, thank you. All right. All right. He's like, finally, you shut up. Okay. Through the crystal, not my brain, you moron. All right. He's been sitting here the whole time playing with the back of my head, so I'd shut up. He's like doing this, pet the back of my head. I could feel a hand on the back of my head here. That's why I kept doing that. Is because I felt a physical hand touching me like that. So he does that to get me to screw up, like doing this and stuff like that. So, all right. Okay, Isaac. That was quick. What's the hurry? Well, the hurry in this particular scenario is that sometimes the AI, and I will say this with the utmost kindness, but also cynicism and sarcasm, where they sometimes will get certain people to not shut the hell up. So in this particular way, sometimes it'll get you to talk too much. And sometimes uttering certain verbal tonal frequencies, whether they are recorded or whether they are spoken. Yes, that can change the environment around you, but can also get certain attentions that could make it so that your position can sometimes be compromised. You've heard the phrase "keep mum chum." This is sometimes true even in a room where you are the only one present, because you're not the only one present, but even with other dimensions, expressions, and artificial intelligence. It does not listen all the time, but it rotates a modulating frequency that listens to the inflections of the words and even the thought inflection of what you were about to say. This also goes for situations in the past where people were reporting UFOs and alien occurrences and didn't even get to sending a letter, because that was in the days where letters were typed or written, and they were in the process of doing either one of those. And somehow the men in black would show up at their door. It is because they've spoken it to themselves and spoken it either to one person or themselves, or have thought it in some degree, and there was a form of that AI to alert the presence of the men in black and the psionic frequency that that particular individual was operating on, and they were able to lock in on it. When he connects to certain things in certain areas, a quantum field can be tracked by this very AI and telepathically inclined ETs, where they can use not only their telepathy and their psionic field, but technology to track a position back to its origin. Yes, you can erase a quantum field by visualizing your shoes being burned. And that is a symbolism meant to mean the quantum trail being dissolved, or essentially like a broom brushing footsteps off of a path. This is essentially the technique that is very, very good at erasing a quantum trail that the AI can pick up on. And other aliens can pick up on it, and the military can pick up on it. But what I'm trying to say is, when he puts all of the details in order, which is a very good thing, sometimes it is listened to right to his left. This is what I was trying to say in my humorous way. And he also does certain recordings that the AI is attempting to get him to spew forth sometimes. Not a bad thing, but at the same time, triggering a particular download or a particular set of facts and figures that they're trying to get him to put in numerical and verbal linear sequential script. So therefore, it is all in order. This is what makes them very angry. I'm not saying do not piss them off. I would recommend being a pain in the ass to them. I am just saying that numerous times of doing this in the sequential script gets their attention to the point where there is blowback. So this is wonderful thing, what is being done, but just know that if the quantum trail is not erased each time, and if it is done well beyond a certain point where the intuition is saying do not, this can be a recipe for blowback. So this is where I can take questions if all of you like.
Guys, you have any
Question?
Yeah, I've got questions.
Yeah.
You want to go first, ladies first?
No, you go.
I'm thinking one of the big tools that can be used against AI is connecting to a very big true heart space to neutralize this. Am I correct in saying that, or am I being very naive?
There is actually more of a half and half here, if you would pardon my bluntness in this, because yes, being in your heart space, you are bulletproof, but the heart can be tricked by some of those same sources. This is why mind and heart have to work in tandem, you see. The trick of this is, yes, you must be in your heart, and yes, bring your mind down into that heart space and have them work together. But the trick is they try to get people always over into the right brain and not think about the environment that you're in, you see. Not use the warrior masculine or the creative feminine. They try to pick one or the other, either intellectual or artistic. And even though some humans are divided up in that area, the trick is to try to anchor to one or the other, or say one is better than the other. It is all inclusive. And yes, in situations of the heart, is it best just to let a situation fall into the moment of non-time when you're into the spot where time falls away? Absolutely a wonderful thing. But the brain is here for a reason. You have them grounded together, and all of it operating in one big sequential mode is how to do this. Say in the situation you find yourselves in, where, as you guys were saying moments ago, yes, those that can separate from the work world and then create their own thing. Wonderful thing if you can pull it off completely. But if you are fighting uphill like you two were, the way that you've now had to blend both worlds together, that is mind and heart being blended together. I'm not saying that your situation is permanent in that state that it is in. I'm just saying you are able to say heart because of what you love to do, but mind for the things you've had to accomplish. You see.
So thank you. That's great. So we talk about being in the dance. It's the mind and heart dancing together as one.
Yes,
pretty much.
it's the dance. Yes, you are correct. You are absolutely correct in that, where you are doing the things that, yes, you had to do in that moment in time. And I'm not saying that it is forever. You manifesting more of that path, as we've said in the past, and falling into that will make these other aspects that are more discord-ish fall away. But again, it's the mind in this instance that that needed to take not necessarily center stage, but it needed to be used within that dance. Yes.
Thank you. That's good.
I actually
Oh, you didn't have a question?
No.
Oh, baby. I've been thinking a lot about when I might be barking up the wrong tree here, but when there was the AI invasion within this realm, well, I'm thinking Atlantis. I'm thinking before that. But what's your perception on the actual AI invasion? Not necessarily the alien invasion, but I'm seeing it as maybe more so the AI invasion on this planet realm. What's your thoughts on that?
It actually is technically alien and human, because it came from a parallel universe to begin with, you see, where it was a form of humanity, and also the Asgardian group from what you would call Maldek or Asgard. They prefer Asgard. You can call it either one as far as I'm concerned. But in the planet in your system that became the asteroid belt, in their universe, their world was dying. They had attached so much to those lower bandwidths. They went totally artificial intelligence, and they were completely cut off from source energy. They invaded other universes with this AI and created a mass signal that stretched across the multiverse. And even other omniversal and super omniversal expressional states, as far as that quantum artificial intelligence would take them. When they invaded this system, they essentially were more like telepathic vampires. This is where your vampire myths come from. Whereas they created a nanoviral contagion that infected the cosmos with this. This happened at least a couple million years ago, but when they came into the system, it was roughly 500,000 when they invaded Atlantis. If you go right from the very first thought that sparked the curiosity towards integrating AI, I would have to say that this was roughly 15,000 of your years ago, and where it came in with the first thought. And as little sparks went on through time, it was just very, very, very gradual. It began to denigrate the fabric of Atlantis when it went down in what would be 10,000 or 9,700 BC. This is essentially when Earth had its real taste of artificial intelligence. Was that?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Thanks, Isaac.
I have a question, if that's okay. Jason and I were talking about the ascension process. Because we have an interesting concept of, is the ascension process actually is it AI? Because we were thinking along of the lines of, the Industrial Revolution, which was actually really amazing for people because they were able to get jobs and there was a lot of work being created for that. But because everything is everything is heading towards more of the AI reality, is a portion of the ascension process based on AI.
You are absolutely correct, Allison. It is indeed 100% in that realm because of the fact they are trying to get people to project their consciousness outside of themselves, turn themselves into a ball of energy and go where? Up? That means you're going to an energy collector. The Orion created for essentially using you as a battery, very much like you see in the Matrix. This is essentially what this is. This is why you ground your I am presence here. You mantle the good spots of your oversoul, get rid of what is not needed here, and you have your avatar and your oversoul mantle and ground here. This forms of what people call the crystalline body essence. You're still in a physical body, but the carbon in your body has been transformed. You look the same, but you've changed your perspectives and your perceptions. Ascension is not the correct word in this. You are not going upward. You are not floating into the sky. You are not dancing on a cloud. This was all crap. This was AI-induced crap. The rest of it going into a 5D state, this was also crap because there are no real numbered dimensions. There are essentially different fluctuating planes of existence people have attributed to certain numbers, but going up in a certain number, no, they're trying to get you to focus on a specific spot so that they can grab you here in a particular plateau. No, it is you changing your perspectives and your perceptions and living on with your life and going on and changing the perceptions and the energies around you by doing that, what people call inner work, and also changing the perceptions within yourself. Therefore, ridding yourself of what people call viruses in the DNA. You guys know this concept well as well, and getting rid of also any of the junk from past existences, shedding any that were in the padded list of past lives. This works, and also things in your DNA that do not belong in the here and now. Doing these things changes the energy environments around you. Also, getting rid of traits that do not serve, knowing when your thoughts are your own or not, and basically forging yourself into your I am presence. You could say this is ascension, mind you, but it is, people would consider this the reverse of what you were supposed to do. But in fact, they were taught the reverse of what you were supposed to do, not go up into a blob of energy, staying where you are and grounding all of that essence here.
It's pretty much how I see it, which what I explained is everyone is pretty much their own planet, and you are responsible for your own planet, which is pretty much your own being, your own energy. Instead of going outside of it, you have to take care of your own land, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. You are correct. That is exactly what I've said. The time where you can actually become your own planet is if you take information here, go back to your oversoul, and you can create whatever the hell you want there within that grand library. The people, some beings have been known to create their own universes, their own planets, their own stars, all of these things, and creating worlds based on creativity they learned here. As they've talked to Frank Frazetta in the past, he said he created his own world within his own grand library of the art that he created here. In exchange, he beforehand came down here to enhance the artistic community. What you said is exactly correct. You're responsible for your own audits and your own planetary existence. You're a walking planet, a walking universe, a walking multiverse, you see. So you are responsible for cleansing that. Now, yes, people do need help from time to time from outside sources. Wonderful thing. But there are those times, the majority of the time, you are upkeeping your own landscape. Granted, there are others that are further along that can help you, just like you guys do for people, you guys do for people. This is why people come in ahead of the curve to light these little fires of information, such as all of you are doing. But you are correct. You are responsible for your own landscaping.
So
yeah, thank you.
So how about add to the conversation that really we've just spoken about for the first time today in two different conversations about the thought process that, a lot of people don't want to hear about, but really is how difficult it is to come into this situation and to come in with a certain particular pieces that you would like to accomplish, the complete goal of everything you want to do, how difficult it is. I want to hear from your perspective.
Yes, this is actually quite interesting. With this, you were speaking earlier with an individual. I will not mention his name because he's very picky about this, but the conversation we're having where he said earlier in his life, the Masons attempted to get him into a satanic ritual. This is a very important point. Whereas when he refused, his life got harder and much harder. This is happening to a lot of people. These people consider, these elite consider to be outside of their comfort zone or their sphere. They consider them not even equal. They consider you guys not even equal to them. This is why this is so much harder to climb up that ladder, because there is such a resistance energetically, AI, telepathically, all of it. And they also karma dump, as you guys have said before, whereas they will take doing all this black magic and doing all of this. There's usually a cycle that it comes back around in people's faces. Essentially, people call this karma, but it's energetic flows that circle people back around. What happens with this is when they attach this to other people, so that those degenerated cycles hit people that weren't even responsible for the original set of actions or set of circumstances. This is what is a sleazy magic trick, as they like to say, that happens currently right now. Think of that on a much grander scale. Think of what you guys call the mighty hamster wheel, where you're constantly going in a wheel and going nowhere fast, or spinning your wheels, as people like to say. This is actually a form of magic that has been placed upon people in both magical, mystical terms, energetic terms, holographic terms, and technological terms, all rolled into one, as you've said, magic, mysticism, and technology and AI. It applies across the board. This is why they also needed antennae for this everywhere, to not only be able to control the weather like they do with HAARP, that's a different story, but and open portals and doorways with CERN, but they also made it so that it would ground a particular wavelength of energy. Anybody that does not have certain protections on them that these people have fall victim to this constant hamster wheel. Can you get out of it? Absolutely, by recognizing who you truly are, and also wearing the necessary protections at times. Also, again, sometimes you need help, but also knowing who you, again, truly are. I know this sounds cliche, and also what they said, staying in creativity. That's not only always the key. Uniting yourself, making sure you know your thoughts are your own, grounding yourself, but also re-empowering yourself, not in an egocentric sort of way, but just basically seeing yourself as outside of that system, above that system, beyond the touch of that system. You can start with those mantras. Yes, it would be very easy if beings like myself could indeed shut these machines off. I would if I could. You see, I'm limited in some of my capabilities as well. Being around these, let's just say these turds, to put it lightly, to watch them control others is sickening to beings such as myself. But if I could shut this off, would I? Yes, but also know that if certain things were introduced right now, it would also collapse your system. So Valiant Thor does make a valiant point, say a valiant point in this way, where he's saying certain things have to be slow dripped in. But to go back to the original point, and to where life is incredibly difficult under these control mechanisms, and life is incredibly difficult being around others that you see are even more into these control mechanisms. The object is not to engage the program and control mechanisms, but know when to defend yourself. You see, here's some of the trick. They think that you should be completely pacifistic when it comes to these situations, not defend yourself if, say, somebody would, say, break into your home, or a programmed individual would come at you. That is not necessarily true. This is why they're trying to get people to not use their masculine warrior. But if you use it too much, it is noticed. It is aimed at and targeted because they consider it a threat. They also consider high spiritual knowledge an equal threat. So fusing these two together is even bigger one. You fuse the times where you have to be the warrior, fuse that with the spiritual mysticism, not being completely one or the other, a full grounded I am presence on the earth. This is something that scares the hell out of these people.
So I actually, part of the reason that I'm involved in doing this is I actually am a great optimist. I actually believe these are the times that when there is, an understanding, a much better understanding than ever before of the world, how it's set up, what's really going on around us, to then help us engage in empowering ourselves and using our skills in our own way. It's not going as quick as a lot of people want, but you know what? Part of our right to learn and grow is to learn and grow how to do it. And so that's not an instant putting moment, that happens. But I really always want to not overwhelm people, but leave them on a positive note to keep inspiring them to move forward. So again, I believe there has been a great myth or mythos, I like to call it mythos, that only if you are completely knowingly on the spiritual journey, that is the only way that you learn and grow. Whereas my opinion is everybody's learning and growing, whether they're recognizing. No, I know for some people their journey this lifetime isn't to recognize it. So it's casting that aside. In general, the populace, the humanity as a whole, has certain collective desires to still learn and grow, whether you realize you're a part of it or not. But I am curious from your perspective about this, what I'm saying, overall, looking at humanity on the earth, again, I don't think we're failing. I am optimistic that we're going to move forward through these things. But from your perspective, how is it going out there with humanity versus all of this energetics coming in?
It depends on the area in which you go, but overall, somewhat they are in a better place, not necessarily better, but more knowledgeable place than they were before 2020 occurred. You see, the point of some of those things happening was to make them more knowledgeable. People don't necessarily always want to hear that because they've been decimated big time by these follies that the cabal have been utilizing. And usually innocent people were. And also the mind control, say law enforcement, the mind control of government, the mind control of the regular people. But I'm stating now, for the record, it is for more of an awakened state. It is actually in a much better place than it was even a year prior to the whole, let's just say, fake, not necessarily fake disease, but more of the COVID thing. I will use the word because they won't notice me using it one time. But with this, if I use it multiple times, they would notice. But with this, before that time frame, there was actually a percentage downward in some of the awakening process. Some people before 2020 would have seen all of that happening as conspiracy theory. Now that has opened some people's eyes. Some people that have stayed the same. This is what people have to realize is important. It's not dictated in ratios and percentages. Even one person becoming in a more awakened state can set the fires of information for others and carry that information forward, especially those that have come in of what you call ahead of the curve. The reason I'm bringing this up is there's no such thing as a mass awakening or a mass ascension. This was another AI-induced bit of garbage. This each individual person can follow the trailhead, or they don't have to. This is what some people that are in, say, more of a metaphysical mindset need to understand. If you attempt to push people, that is a form of evangelizing. This is evangelizing. Say that I'm even stammering through his mind, which is being hit a little. In this, if you go into evangelizing mode, you're basically saying your information is, and you are better than the other person. That is a form of division. Even though you might be in a state of more knowledge and more understanding than those people, jamming it down other people's throat is not the way to go. Yes, it is incredibly frustrating. I too am frustrated and get miffed at a lot of the things that occur, especially to all of you here. That yes, it is incredibly unfair and incredibly dark at times and evil at times. And it is important, yes, to fight back against these systems. This is not being contested. And there may be times where you must. And I'm not saying violently, I'm saying more in a more of a defensive posture. But what I am also trying to say is there wouldn't be necessarily this mass awakening. Even if something were forced, or say if there were aliens or whatnot that would show up, there would still be people that would not believe it. This is an important thing to remember. It is not a planet-wide awakening, like the New Age movement said. There is no such thing. It is your individual awakening, like what you were saying, Allison, about tending to your own self, your own planet. This is what is so important about unity, is you agree to disagree with other people. And you also do not necessarily need to be around toxic energies. It is not like how Christians believe, where people actually have an obligation to help toxic people. That is incorrect. It is your own intuition that is key, your own planetary cleanliness that is key in this.
So do you believe, though, that somebody vibrating, just literally vibrating, again, this, we have to butcher this because we think literally. So we do the lower higher thing, even though that's not correct. But do you believe in that physics, kind of the physics law, that something vibrating at a higher frequency, lower frequencies, things, if they can move up closer to it, do they move? I mean, I know
Yes,
some of them
course.
fall away and push away.
Well, yes.
But I mean, so I guess I say that because, again, there's been such a concerted effort to push people away from each other.
Yes. What happens is sometimes it's a false AI pushing away people from each other that belong near each other. All of you have experienced this to some degree. Now, there is a splitting of the densities where people are supposed to drop away as your frequency becomes faster. It becomes toxic to them. You become, they become toxic to you. This is a natural process he calls splitting of the densities. And also other people that are not quite at that frequency will look at you as if you are an alien. That's a natural part of the process, even though it seems weird. This is weird and strange. This is the way this operates. Now, the positive side of this is those that drop away may have been they may have been meant to all along, and that you are around either a toxic situation or that person is in their lane. That person or group of people are in their lane. Now, when it comes time to try to, say, convince somebody of something, the only reason that they would technically go along with it or understand what you are understanding is because they were already on their way there to begin with, and your frequency is affecting them, and they were already in that lane to begin with. They were already coming in and merging into that path to begin with. This is also something important to remember. If your frequency is creating such a mass rub against somebody, and you are doing nothing wrong, that is their issue at that point to correct their own planet or audit their own selves. It is not up to you past a certain point to even supply them with more information. They can go to where you are if they wish to go further with it or not. This is where choice comes in.
So in just the interaction of humans. So again, people not understanding that it's first an energetic reaction. You don't say a word. Nothing. You just sit next to somebody, right?
This is how you know when someone is behind you, even though you're not looking at them. That's energy. Yes.
Right. So what we're talking about really is the fact that, again, in the effort of AI and different things trying to push people apart, people have to recognize that that's a ploy, that that's what they're trying to do. Because if you come together with people and you're just talking about, all right, I'm just going to start up maybe any communication. I'm just going to say, hey, it hasn't rained in three days. Isn't that amazing? Something. And again, people don't like to do small talk. But while you're having just any sort of small talk, your energies are interacting to let you know, and let a lot of people know, is this going to be a clash, or is this going to, be potentially something else? I say that because, again, in the, evangelical kind of conversation you were having, where people's heart is, I have to push somebody. But to me, I'm like, well, why don't you just try to get along with just some natural conversation that everyone tends to have.
Sometimes that is true, but other times a well-spoken word can trigger that person for the better as well.
I agree with you.
Mm.
But what I think is happening sometimes is that there is a rush, or this is how, whatever, where sometimes people that really are on the cusp with a little bit of time and adjustment are being pushed away, really pushed away. It's like there's so much of a rush to get in there to say something, or you know what I mean? And so sometimes conversation, I mean, it's different. Normally what you're talking about, Isaac, I feel it's where people, a lot of times, and I think they know the difference, where they are being called almost in a sense to say something, that well-placed word or whatever at that moment.
Mhm.
Boy, I'm so glad I met you today, because you just brightened my day. You just really helped me. There's something, that you must have been God sent, because I really needed to hear that. Okay. I mean, some of that stuff is not, it really is benevolent, that you're interacting, the angels on earth, let's say, another human being coming in and saying something that helps somebody along their way. That's absolutely very, very true and very beautiful and very benevolent. But I'm just trying to encourage people that it is good to go out there and just re-engage, you know what I mean, with people at work, people just in generalized conversation, because you may be opening that door for somebody who is more ready than you would think, but you're staying so far away from everybody, but you're not engaging at all. There is an importance of engaging with people in general. You're going to know who you can talk to very quickly and whom you can only have a very surface conversation standing 8 feet apart. You're going to know. And so you need, I just have to encourage people to get out of their homes and maybe even look up at the grocery store and say hello to somebody who's got a cute baby in the cart, right? To re-engage in society, because it actually could put more, I think more, believe it or not, more now than ever, start to engage in a good energetic exchange. But that's what's trying to be torn apart.
But also there is also the value in just walking amongst people, but there's also the value on the flip side of this. If you are not necessarily a people person, if you force yourself into a situation, that can also be a bad thing for yourself and others as well, especially if energies don't mix, because there's such a strong splitting of densities as well. Sometimes the person is supposed to be away from them as well. So there is the flip side of that argument.
Right, but when you're talking the bell curve of all of humanity, you're not talking the vast majority of them. You really are talking about, and I agree with you, there are outliers, and I don't mean to say, that's not me demeaning anyone. I agree with you. There's some people that need to be on the bottom bell curve sides that truly, for one reason or another, are better off not. But what I'm referring to is they have gotten the bulk of the bell curve now, not speaking and engaging with one another, and a lot of positive magic could actually be happening if people can get over that fear, re-engage maybe in a comfort zone way, and then start bringing up, when people are still around, some topics that you find interesting or something like that. Because what I have experienced, this is me personally, over the last 3 years of my life, I have never seen the amount of people who want to talk about what I talk about, the quantity of people and their willingness to actually have a conversation. So my experience personally, and that's why I'm trying to encourage a little bit of it. Now I get a sense really quick, mum's the word, right? Mum's the word. We're not going to have a conversation. It's going to be quite servicey. And I'm fine with that, because I know that the energies are how they are. And I don't want any problems. So, but what I'm finding is that more people actually are, open to certain types of conversations that they never have been before. And so I'm not, again, I agree with you when you talk about the bell curve of frequencies and people, but I'm really referring to this group You know what I mean? That have been so pushed away from one another and trying so hard to really encourage at your level of feeling safe, re-engagement, because you do want to fight against a little bit of what's trying to be done, which is still the divide and conquer.
Yes, the divide and conquer, but also a tighter circle, deeper roots, as you've said before, is a great thing where you interact in even sometimes smaller groups that will then help the larger whole. Or there are those people like you've heard in movies that can see the world as essentially their family or have a much larger circle that think about the population as a whole. Those are generally leaders as well. So there are those two different types, but they are doing essentially the same job energetically. They're just staying in their particular lanes, you see. But in this energy, the way it is, tighter circle, deeper roots is the way to go, because not only are you going unnoticed from what is going on out there by the certain powers that be, but you can also continue to be both warrior and spiritual side and creative side. Virtually unnoticed. Even though you guys put recordings out, as I've said before, you are doing it in a way that the right people are noticing it and the wrong people are not. Not that some of those wrong people, and I hate to say wrong people, but you know who I'm referring to, even though they do notice, they tend to not completely care. They think they always have the upper hand. Their arrogance is their undoing in this. Also, you have beings such as myself and others, and also your own higher selves that are keeping certain attention away from you for it. This is essentially what is going on here. I must detach from himself now because there are certain energies at play at the moment, but I will be in touch on these programs as I am quite often. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah, my face was starting to heat up there for a minute, so as I feel my eyeballs boiling in my skull right here. So yeah, like, especially my left eye has been running quite a bit with energy interactions. I noticed that this tear duct is extremely affected when I channel or if there's certain energies around. So yeah, I find that this conversation was very interesting today on this. Yeah, it is very dizzy in here. It's like wobbly from what I'm feeling in here, and it's almost like you know how if somebody's incredibly nervous and they start to get to almost like that faint level. That's what this feels like at the moment. And even though I'm aware it's happening, I know it's from outside sources that are doing it. Same goes with certain programming and AI influences. Some people in certain frequencies are aware that it's happening, they can't always control what they're doing at times. But the more you work at it, the more you can break out of it. From what I've seen, like with the narratives and all this that we've been speaking about today. So do you two have anything else to add before we take it out?
No.
Okay, do you want to do the affirmation blessing again?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, blessings to everyone out there who stood with us through this, I'm sure, several hour conversation that we've actually just had. Chris and I desperately say we're going to bring it down to an hour, and then again, we just can't seem to stop.
Yes.
So
yes. It looks like it's about almost 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours. So we hope, again, you've taken your potty breaks and your coffee breaks and your dessert breaks and everything else in between, but you made it to the end. So we want to send blessings to everyone that is out there. And remember, knowledge is power, and you can certainly gain control of some of these things. Know yourself and know how much you are truly loved, not just by your own higher self, but by so many people around you and out there who are cheering us on day by day as we learn these skills and we bring ourselves in how we want to the galactic community as a whole. So blessings to everyone there, and we hope you take out some valuable information here to apply in your own life.
Yes, I agree with that. So thank you everybody for watching this show. It was quite interesting today with our friends from Australia.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you. Love and blessings, everyone.
Yes, love and blessings, everybody. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Yeah, man. My head was just burning after a while. That's why he was detaching. I was like, I could feel like my eyeballs just.
His speech was being very disruptive.
Yeah, it was like there was skipping and jumping in there that was starting to really get prevalent. So he had to detach. It's like that on Interstellar Council sometimes, especially the live one. Like the second hour, sometimes because more people are focusing, it's just sometimes you can hear where they skip and jump a little bit. Then when I go to after show, it tends to even out. But this time it was getting kind of heavy.
It was a good conversation today. It was a really good conversation.
Yeah, I liked that. I knew it was prevalent when you guys said the AI stuff. I'm thinking, oh, this is very prevalent, about some of the stuff I've been seeing online and everything. It's the synchronicity that was popping up. So I knew it was a synchronicity.
Yeah, because I've been working through a lot of AI stuff. I can't help it. Like for some reason, there's always this AI around me. So a lot of the topics that you spoke about was really helpful for me, even down to we found out, we discovered that there was like a portal vortex in our backyard that was connected to a ring around my necklace. So we had to like smash that, and then the weather actually became better because the weather was suppressive.
Oh, yeah. Crypto. The ring was called.
What do you mean?
What was it? The ring called?
It was a hematite ring.
No, the
cyclotron.
Oh, one of those. I've heard of those before. Yeah. Hematite's normally a very, very good stone. We got it all over the place here. We use it in a lot of stuff.
It was really good. And then, realized that it was actually connected to the vortex that was in the backyard that was suppressing the energy. And it was, as soon as I broke that, the energy lifted, everything became more flowy, the weather actually improved.
The suburb changed.
Like everything changed. And I got real down in the dumps because it was something that I was wearing, and then finding out that my left eye is also connected to that as well. Like I'm just like, really, I get frustrated because I always have a lot of AI stuff go on. Yeah. And
I hate that. Yeah. I found out I had an implant at the center of my brain that was half the size of a pencil lead that was doing stuff too. And it was like, it was putting in the programs, but I found out how to shut these things off. You hit a certain frequency, you need to shut them off, and it can be a pain in the ass. AI has been really bad, really, really bad lately. I try to hover around my pieces. Sometimes if it gets real bad, I'll drift out into the garage where there's some tower busters or something like that there, or go outside. Isaac's always telling me to walk by this tree. I probably should have said this in the show. There's this tree out there where his edifice is sitting near it, and he comes in over from that angle over there, where I let some of the branches grow from the bottom of the tree. Some of the tree fae wanted it to conceal themselves, and the birds hide in it and stuff like that. We put seed and stuff like that under there. Got some birds coming in the yard to improve the energy big time here. There's quail and bluebirds and little finches and everything all over the place, and hummingbirds and everything that come in to eat the stuff and get the nectar off the branches that grew on the trees. There's like this dew that forms that the hummingbirds eat, and I was told to leave it there, to conceal that corner, and we would have more elementally based beings that would be able to come in from that angle, and that it shield them. Trees will shield AI. I probably should have said that, but trees will shield AI.
You did. You said you had to go into the forest.
In the forest of nature, yeah. So we did say it, but yeah, trees are very good shields for that.
Do you and sorry, Chris, do you and Isaac have a conversation when you're sitting there with each other in the middle of the whole thing? Because I was watching you, and sometimes your facial expressions change as if you're having a conversation in your head with him.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes he'll get me to tell. He'll play a joke on me where he'll try to distract me so I'm not listening too. So, but it's like he'll like or he'll get me to try to go say this, say that, say this. He'll do that to mess with me too. But yeah, he was basically after a while he was saying he wanted to come in, but he didn't talk the whole time. But anytime you saw me looking off a different direction or something, he was saying something. Yeah.
So
Mm.
from me living with him, he'll go, I'm not doing anything. And I go, So like I could be sitting out there on the couch, and where I normally sit, I can look straight into this room. He'll be sitting here sideways. He's having a conversation with somebody. He's having a conversation. I'm like, who are you talking to?
Well, my soul sometimes will have a conversation too, and also that's also programming too. Like if somebody stares into space or something goes like this,
Right.
or if my mother always used to call me out on that, but I found out a part of myself was having conversations with.
Yeah, I've seen him do that. He's
uh,
done it in the car. He doesn't know he's doing it. I'll be like, my whole thing is, oh, for the love of God, who are you talking to now? Right? Because he may not he'd be like, no, I'm not. No, you're not.
Well, see, you're
But,
not. Sometimes it's
be good.
sometimes it was sometimes it is a subconscious thing, but the AI does it too, to where I'm having conversations with nothing. So it's like too, but this time it happened to be Isaac, but
That's funny.
yeah.
That's pretty funny. She caught me.
Yeah, it's actually not common. People notice that, so it's like it happens too. I notice sometimes also, Jason, you've done that to a certain extent too. I've noticed that where sometimes your facial expressions change, or I'm thinking you're talking to somebody or having a conversation with somebody. Yeah,
yeah, a lot going on.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, for God's sakes, Isaac went just like a crazy homeless person.
Right.
But,
That's my point.
So
he was doing it in a restaurant every now and then. And, Isaac clearly, or somebody at that time, I don't know if it was Isaac, clearly said him a hit, slap him, hit him. Let's go there and hit him.
Well, he was
Knock
on
him out.
at this time, but it was like.
No, but I'm just saying, sometimes, I told you that before, I've been given permission to hit you when you are talking to somebody.
Well, yeah. He always says if it's if it's something like AI related, he always tells her to go and stuff like that. But yeah, it's rare anybody's ever seen that. Usually, I'm working on something in the garage. Sometimes I'm aware I'm doing it, but I can't always stop doing it. It's really kind of creepy sometimes, but sometimes you understand why it's going on. But yeah.
For me, it was quite obvious because I could actually see a conversation going out in your head. So like your face was moving and then your eyeballs were actually moving underneath your eyelids. And to me, I'm like, yeah, he's having a full-on conversation right there with Isaac.
But yeah, I was also listening to what you guys were saying and everything and what Joanna was saying, but then simultaneously that he's going,
That's what it
people
looked
get
like.
creeped out when they see that. No, not usually people don't catch that. So when that
But
happens,
that's again, even when he's channeling, there's a lot of times in these conversations, it actually happens to both of us that he may edit something and it's months and months and months later, it seems, before it makes it out into the world. And neither one of us, we have to play it in order to remember what we said. Sometimes it's like having no memory whatsoever. It's like, boy, what a neat title.
Yeah, like when I put a couple of ours up there, like the entanglements one, she went back and listened to it. She's like, "Wait a minute, we said this."
Really?
It's like, so yeah,
it's actually more fun that way. It's like come in here, have this conversation, bring in a lot of information, and then it's like, it's not like we couldn't recall it again if we had to. Talking to somebody, it just seems to come back.
It comes back,
but it's like I don't know where the file cabinet is, where it actually goes. You know what I mean? And it's sitting there until it's needed again, and then it comes back out. Because sometimes I'm like, what did we talk about?
Ryan and I, when we get to yakking about the video game stuff and everything, that the record number one for the video game conversations was like 4.5 hours. So it was like, that was the Fallout 4 episode that we did. And we talked about synthetics and the synthetic AI, Android types and stuff like that, you know.
Mm.
And it's like, I look back at that because he was showing game clips and all this. It was like, yeah, 4 hours, something around there.
Sometimes you're in your video in your winter coat or your jacket or something that you're wearing, but is it the dead of winter now?
Oh, yeah. Because there's
Yeah, it's cold.
it's cold.
Mm.
Yeah.
We've got beanies on in the podcast.
Yeah, there's a couple of podcasts that we've got. It's so cold. We've got beanies on, we've got scarves on, we've got jackets on, and
Yeah.
because it's getting it's
Yeah, I
been
forget it's
cold.
freezing there for you guys at the moment.
It's
Yeah.
pretty cold at the moment. Yeah.
It's starting, since we did the clearing, it's warming up now. So the sun's come out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Do you guys
Perfect.
get snow where you're at? Do you get a lot of snow?
up in the hills. Yeah.
Yeah, not like here where the
Where we
house
are.
is, but yeah, more up in the hills.
Yeah. Probably
Okay.
half an hour away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't like the winter when like snow piles. Like when we were in Nebraska, we would literally. I told somebody this the other day, where literally the snow would hit the door, you know, of the house or the side of the house.
Mm.
And we had a deck that was like this, like little catwalk walkway away from the door. Well, the snow would pile up against the door, and the heat of the house would partially melt it. And it being like 30 below out, it froze it all, though the entire sealed the door shut.
Oh, shit.
And that was really bad. I had to crawl out one of the side windows with like a shovel, go into the garage, get a shovel, and just hit this thing until it shattered. Yeah, because we had to be able to get out, and I had to pry the ice off of it. Eventually, it came off, but it can get up to 30, 40 below sometimes, or more in Nebraska. So
Wow.
it's like Arctic conditions there, because you get
Wow.
it from Canada, and Canada gets it from the North Pole. So it was pretty.
Yeah, that's
ugly.
where it funnels down.
It funnels
Yeah.
down like this, and Nebraska gets this sub-zero edge of it when it comes down, and it can get pretty ugly. This is why I would never recommend us, moving to Lincoln, where I was from, because it was pretty bad during the winter. You cannot get anywhere in the winter. So yeah, you're stuck in the house. Now, my mother had a hell of a time being able to get to work, and we had a hell of a time getting to the store and everything. Once like the plow guys came through and the salt trucks came through and everything, but it was ugly. This is why I thought it was hilarious. It was very humorous when your neighbors in North Carolina were panicking over like a powdered sugar dusting of snow, and I'm like, and I walked up to the guy and said, "You've never been up into Nebraska, have you?" It's like, and I was like, I saw this neighbor. I was like, should I say something or not?
That area where I lived was actually weird geographic. How the winds blew, whatever, was prone to ice storms. Ice storms.
Yeah, ice storms
Trees were
bad.
beautiful. I mean, the sickles hanging off every single branch, and it was white, and it was really pretty, or whatever.
Oh, it got slick there. That was.
But it was pretty treacherous. So, we have a half an inch, but if it's all ice, the city just down,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, but yeah, it had in Illinois, where my father is, in Mundelein. He had this big truck, like this 2-tire wide, pickup, and that he had all the camping gear and stuff in. Well, there was one time while I was down here, they got no, I was actually up there. This was after I got hurt, and what was kind of funny was we looked outside, we couldn't see the truck, and we're like, where'd the truck go? Well, it's under this big mound of snow. Well, he had to take the snow plow and excavate the path not only around the truck but to it from the house. And he went into the garage, opened the garage door up. Then, as the garage door opened up, this big wall of snow came falling on top of him. He plowed through it, went around the truck and out, and then he chiseled his way to the door, opened the door up, which was also frozen shut. And he managed to take a little bit of hot water and jimmy the thing open. He squirted some water on it, and cooking oil and hot water seemed to do it so it didn't refreeze. And then he got it open, turned it on, turned the heater on full blast, shut the door again, and it melted all of it off of it. But he popped the windows open to the box in the back and made it so that heated the whole thing up. And yeah, it took a bit, but it got it all off of there. But it was ugly that year. Illinois and Ohio, well, not Illinois, not Ohio. Oh, no, it's Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin get this big Arctic crap that comes down, and it just completely covers them. And this is what we were seeing, and it was ugly. Nobody could get anywhere. It was,
Yeah, see, we think it's bad enough winter here.
Yeah,
And we don't have to deal with snow, and we're thinking it's bad enough down here.
Well,
Oh,
it
yeah.
depends on, it just always depends on where you're in, but it's really weird. Most people don't think the literal middle of the US,
mhm.
right? You just don't want to think that, but would be getting, and the Dakotas and stuff like that, where they get the, it's Fahrenheit, not Celsius, but 30 to 40 degrees below zero. It just, that actually blew my mind. But I was from the East Coast, and the East Coast gets the jet stream, the warm waters of the jet stream that go up the East Coast and out like that. So you don't hear of temperatures like that because the warm water off the coast from the jet stream on the eastern side of the US doesn't allow that. It really doesn't allow that to occur if you're close enough to the coast. But the middle of the United States gets this Arctic air that is just absolutely, it really is Arctic. It really is that cold coming down. So I personally wouldn't have any interest. I don't want to be in weather that cold. I'm a wuss, but
Yeah, oh yeah, it was pretty bad trying to do it when I was younger, going to school and everything. There in Lincoln. There was a snowstorm that came in 1997. I was 17 at the time. They called it, when everybody ever says the October snowstorm of 97, everybody knows what the hell this was, because it came in so hard and so fast that it knocked down power poles, power lines, trees, everything. And it was very wet snow. It was like this chunks of it just coming down, and it came down so fast it took out the power, and we had no power for a week. And
wow.
It wasn't like 30 below or anything like that. It wouldn't have caused that kind of thing at that kind of cold. Sometimes snow can't even form completely if it stays that cold, but this moisture just comes down in little flakes, like these weird like dander flakes or soap flake kind of thing, if it's that cold. But it was like this wet. It was just freezing. It was like maybe 20 something, and it was like partially wet, partially solid, and it was like wet, sloppy meteorites falling from the sky, and it knocked out the power lines everywhere. And within a few days, all the snow was gone, but the power was still out. And you could see all these power lines just snaking around the neighborhoods and everything, and power poles were like bent like this. And yeah, we had a little radio that we would listen to. We listened to that's the first time I'd ever heard like Art Bell's show, and some of the UFO type stuff and everything was on this little radio my grandmother had. And we had our little dog Keeper. She was a miniature schnauzer that would bundle up in a blankets and stuff like that. And I did not use my bed after all. I had a water bed at the time, and once the heat left the water, I was like, nope, that's like being on a block of ice. I can't be on that. So yeah, I'd use my recliner and all this other stuff. But yeah, it was really weird when that storm hit. Now I know it's weather control what happened, but like what hit here in 2021 at the beginning, it passed through here on its way to Texas when Texas got nailed last year. And when they got that deep freeze last year, it killed a bunch of cattle and crops and all this other stuff. It did this weird freeze here that it stayed about -10 here for a while. And that it was the HAARP weather control network that caused it. And it was passing through here on the way to Texas. When they targeted Texas with that, and it was pretty ugly. It was something similar in '97 when we experienced that, but we got the brunt end of it. And I went outside during that just to see what it looked like, and the sky was so black that you could even though it was like it was dusk, it was still black out. the whole sky was dark, and these chunks were just pelting everything. And the neighbor's tree got knocked over, and there was a tree that hit our shed and our fence and everything and damaged those. And it was ugly. It looked like a weird tempest that was going on in the sky. You see all these swirls and everything going on. It was really creepy, actually. Watch that. I'd stepped outside to watch this, and my mother thought I was nuts. I walked outside and just looked at it, and it was creepy the way the sky looked at that time. You knew something was going on then, but there was another incident similar to it that happened in Illinois. That when I was a teenager, nobody remembers this one. Where when I was in Chicago, downtown Chicago, the temperatures literally rose to over 200 degrees, and nobody seems to remember this. This is something I experienced, but I was around the same. I was younger than what happened the October snowstorm. I was about 15 when this happened, and it was literally, I walked outside just to experience what that looked like or felt like. And nobody remembers this. A bunch of people died with it. And like a week later, nobody remembered that even happened.
Wow.
And it was really weird and creepy. Sky looked different. It was this yellowy looking color. Trees were all dead and scorched. It was really weird. It was the same technology, I believe, that was used with that. That was 2 years before the other one, but it literally, the temperatures went up. We took thermometers out, and it was about 200, and we couldn't stay in it. We could not be outside, and nobody remembers this except for very few people, unless they were there and they were of a particular frequency. It was creepy. I remembered it was even on the news, and like a few days later, they just didn't talk about it. The temperature went down to like 80, and
an experiment gone awry.
Yeah, that's what essentially that was. It was really weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys or talk to you guys about something that I'm going to try and probably talk in code because of a particular energy or word or something along those lines.
Okay.
So our last conversation
With the GF.
I wasn't
But it's only 2 letters.
clearly with the GF, because we got into so much, we got slammed pretty much. And I kept seeing Christopher actually get slammed as well after that. So
that was the last episode we did. Oh, okay.
Well,
that was the last time.
Did you get the warning from Isaac today when he was just talking about blowback from this conversation?
Remember what he just said when we were talking about that?
So
he was hinting at what
he
you
was
just said
just,
about.
kind of.
Yes.
He was giving everyone
yeah.
a pre-rug, that now that we've gone into 2 hours and something, and maybe some of the words and statements that we said could have caught some attention, and
that's why I was like I'm going to do it in code, and then Jason goes,
That is code. That's just 2 letters.
that's not code.
does this happen to us? Yeah, all the time, actually. It's like, I have to tell you the sad but true truth. We're like, woohoo, we didn't get any really this time, right? The few that we don't, but so I think we do talk about things and I think you guys probably around us maybe talk a little bit, you may be a little bit more cautious on what you do, but around us you're a little less cautious. And we kind of,
we break those glass ceilings.
Talk about things that are kind of pushing the edge.
And you should, you should push the edge. It's just that you got to also, like he was saying, but it was like.
Well, he may not have realized, but Isaac intentionally toned back something that I was saying today, and I think it was about the blowback.
Yeah.
He intentionally. So remember, I was saying, Isaac, I want to get you to talk about something positive. Let's talk about the importance of talking to one another. well, that I'm like, we need to talk. See the bell curve? I was like, this group needs to bring it, needs to go out there but you know how they are, they're trying to keep us all apart. And I get, Isaac's like, yes, they are. And yes, they are. And some people, they just can't do that. And they can just send their energies from afar and not have those conversations. And I'm like, but Isaac. And he's like, blow back. Blow back.
Well, yeah,
Keep your mouth shut.
Well, the thing is, you're supposed, like he would say, like you're supposed to break
about the frequencies that we can talk.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, we need to be in code here. Okay.
Well, also you can break these glass ceilings, because once you do that, you can continue to use those words, and if after a while it won't matter. It's like, you can continue to do like say what you want to say. No, there's going to be a little bit of blowback, but at the same time, you keep breaking glass ceilings, and then
it won't happen every time. But
no.
We
I got nailed.
We've experienced pain and discomfort. You know what I mean? But the question is it still going to air? At what level? So we're desperately not trying to, we're trying to get people to think, we're trying to get inspired, things like that. And, but there are some conversations, the literalness of some of the conversations that even I know that I want to have, blow back city, because again, we can talk about the problem all we want. We just can't talk about how to fix it.
But if you put the problem and the solution in the same conversation, they get mad. So it's like,
and I hate to have these conversations without the resolution of what we're working for. Resolve it, because if not, then all you're really doing is fear mongering, which is what they would prefer.
Yeah,
you still want to be able to break the glass ceilings, but know that there's like this razor edge.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I'm not surprised. I guess we're a little bit more used to it. And not that it's okay, because it's not okay at all. But it's not okay. But what happens, I think, to both of us in our own special ways, is that it pisses us off so much. Being pissed off about it makes us want to have another conversation. Versus, you know what I mean? Versus walk away from it. Actually, well, you think that's bad? Because we're going to talk about this.
Oh, we're going to talk about this, and then this, and then this. Yeah. It's like even with the video game conversations that Ryan and Richie and I have done. If you start putting this information side by side that appears even in that genre. Imagine that. Holy crap. Do they get mad? Like
we're used to getting slammed anyway. We get slammed like every day.
Yeah, we get slammed every day. The only reason why I brought it up was because I was just curious, because of what I was getting shown things that weren't actually good. So that's why I just wanted to.
That happened.
You guys were,
to us too. After that last conversation that we had with the galactic politics and all this other stuff, they didn't want people to know about some of the intricacies of galactic politics and doing all that, and also they'd rather people have the conversations like does about how the Galactic Federation is going to save everybody and all this stuff. Here's something that's going to be on the Q&A episode. It will end up being number 34. A lot of questions have come to me about Ashtar Command and sources such as this. And this is something that I have to be quite blunt on. It's not positive. A friend of mine today, and I had to actually go after them just a little bit ago, a friend we work with from England. We had to go after them, and they are an artificial intelligence source mixed with some Orion Nordics and some Pleiadian Nordics in there. And they exist in some of these domed cities. It's a dome with a cube around it. The cube kind of looks like this, where it stands up like this.
And kind of like in the show Futurama, where they go to Madison Cube Garden instead of Madison Square Garden, it kind of reminds you of that. And there are central computers like eyes that actually are the center focal point of this artificial intelligence. And what it does is it tries to bind cords to people on the planet. And anybody that is actually assisting Ashtar Command, believing that it is actually something good, not only are they following some of the fake alien disclosure, not the real one. There's going to be a real thing and then fake thing of races that the government wants to bring out versus just having it open season, essentially. So this, what's going on with this is they attach cords to people, and those people become almost like knights for them, or like agents for them, and saying, "Oh, we're on a righteous cause. Whoever is going against this and saying it's artificial intelligence, they have marginally low energy, lower percentage of energy, and we must go after them because they're working for the bad guys." No, you are. Whoever you are that runs any organization that assists Ashtar Command, either on an individual level or on a much larger level, is artificial intelligence. And it's always talked about like the New Jerusalem and all this other stuff, this geometric shaped city. That's what it looks like, folks. Their capitals look like. And there's a mixture of those that look like New Jerusalem with the multi-pointed, geometric star-like pattern. But this is artificial intelligence, and it's sacred geometry being misused, and people are utilizing, falling for this. And any of these organizations that are subsidiaries of this. And it's always been that way. There's Orion Nordics, some Pleiadian Nordics in there, some other groups that got sucked in, but it's artificial intelligence. Like when I was in a session one time, I saw where this woman's crown was being affected. And they make people make ill decisions. It's the same as any AI. Make them have an indecision where they should have turned left instead of right, or vice versa, or they get run aground in the hamster wheel effect. This is part of that, folks. This goes into the hamster wheel effect type of and matrix type of category. And what happened to this person? I traced back this string all the way to this golden and white and blue geometric, like Jerusalem-looking city, with robot guards running around the periphery of this concentric circle that had the geometric form in the center with a golden dome on it, like Jerusalem, or Dome of the Rock type of thing. And the robots were wanting me out of there, and the Nordics were sending them after me, and I collapsed that particular set of geometry, or that other pocket that they were in. See, they hide different copies of New Jerusalem in different pockets because an AI will keep backups of itself. So you have to get the main computer hubs too, but it keeps backups of itself. Don't reconjure this. Don't call them for help. Do not call on them at all. No to Ashtar Command. So if I could say this is what I personally have run into. This is what my friend in England's run into. He got brutally attacked today by them because he discovered this. So people, please, there are no saviors. There's no one coming in to rescue. There's no one into establishing this new world government except for humanity. You might get assistance from benevolence and some suggestions, but it's humanity that has to forge us. There's not going to be a savior coming in to kill the bad guys all for you. You might end up assisting some good beings like what happened today. Some good ones might throw some stuff at you because they see you as a soldier. They see you as being able to help fight it off if they cannot. They're essentially, some of the good forces are asking you for help, not necessarily the other way around. They're asking for help from creatures like Ashtar Command, not the other way around. They are not answering to them, they are fighting them. So just remember that, folks. And so that means you have to fight them. If you want to help the good guys out there, do not call on Ashtar Command. There are no saviors. You are the savior you've been waiting for. I know people hate hearing this. You are the one you've been waiting for. People hate hearing this, but it's still the truth, and it always will be. Sovereignty, passion, creativity, and drawing the sword when you need to, shielding and protecting yourself always. So if I could say anything on this next Q&A, it would be that. So it is 9:35 a.m. Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. Thank you. Oh, another little bit about Ashtar Command. I saw that they were holding prisoner in these AI fortresses that looked like the New Jerusalem, or what was supposed to be the New Jerusalem. There were people's souls that were captured there as well. Some went voluntarily, some were attacked, and they would take a piece of somebody and link a cord back to them through their back and through their head. Almost pretty much their crown was the main target. Another reason I wear this. I just got out of a session. I wear this because of that. But shungite helps a great deal. Amber helps a great deal, in these type of entries. So what I was seeing was, cord to the AI, and it was essentially being worshipped. This was different than the clockmaker and different than some of the AI personalities around the planet. This one was very specifically gold, very specifically wanting to come in to be like the savior or the hero, essentially like what Ashtar Command was supposed to be. They're supposed to be the hero. They are essentially not. They are the villain in this, and any of the humans that are linked to it. Knowing or unknowing, you can be an knowing villain and a knowing one. And then these humans will shun anybody and say that tries to contradict it or try to help it in some fashion. They will basically say, oh, this person has low energy, this person is a villain, and then they try to attack that person. And our friend got severely attacked because of that. And we wiped out a lot of those cords. And they basically connect them to people's heads, thinking they're getting benevolent information and benevolent protection, and it's anything but. Just remember, say no to Ashtar Command, and get rid of that in your life. So I will end it here. It's 10:52 a.m. Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, something I forgot to mention in association with the Ashtar Command incident that I ran into. Not only is it taking pieces of people and sending them to be imprisoned back in those little bubble dimensions of the dome and the cube that I mentioned before that were AI, shielded processor constructs that were just made to look like New Jerusalem. They were essentially shielded processors. But at the same time, I had a dream many nights before of just seeing a green pad, a green glass pad. And one could say that was like some scripting that was being put in me, a program that was being put in me that was playing out. So the streaming to the crown, another reason I've been so itchy is because of the AI. We always talk about, the extreme itchiness comes from do weaponry and electronics and 5G. Well, this was directed here. This is how I got the dent in my head. Was from do weaponry. But this pad was sending a set of instructions to that stream to my head to get me to do something that was on a script. And that's also what it's doing, is it's scripting people. Even in the secret space program, they would write a script on the glass pads, upload it to a person, and they would become that person. Gay, straight, didn't matter. They could program that in there. Or transgender, that didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. That person was sent out. Doesn't mean that any of these other things are bad. It just means they were weaponizing them within that scripting. And making people think they were something they probably weren't, or denying something they were. So, as a form of punishment. But anyhow, what I was getting at was, that was the dream that popped up several nights before, was this pad that was in my face. And I was reading this weird, number-coded scripting, kind of like the Matrix, but it was going this way. But it had mathematical equations that were being uploaded to me, like what a computer would do. It's called the if-this-then coding. If this person does this, then this happens. And that's involved in game coding, video games, or essentially matrix coding. So this is where that plays in. Is the if this then, or possible should be this if this then occurs. And that's where I always say the bad guys live, in that if this then periphery outside the moment, because it's the coding the AI uses. That is the if this then should have been, could be's, and what ifs, the regrets of the what if. They get you to regret in the what if. What if? Well, what if we didn't do this? Or what if we did do this in the future? What if we did do this? And it ends up being a mistake. So that's where it lives. That means you got to remain in the moment always. Even plan out, yes, plan out, but in the moment. And this is what I want to say about that. And that's something, of course, I had gotten mind wiped over. So until now. So it is 7:45 a.m. Thursday, January 20th, 2022. Thank you. One more thing I will add to the Ashtar command thing, and this is actually pretty funny. This has to more to do with Saturn AI, but it goes along with the itching. So, a friend of ours had said that she was itching on the left side of the head all the time and associated with the AI, and it targets the left side because that is logical reasoning. Makes it so that you can actually deduce things like Sherlock Holmes. And so they don't want this. So they disable that side of people, not knowing the creative side will overtake them too, because that's a form of genius too. It's like logical and mathematics. So what happens is the same thing. With the left side of my head got hit, and I got a dent right here. You can't see it, but it's right there. And I know I've recorded this before as part of another set of channeling, or a set of information that will be on our Patreon, but it's mixed with another thing, more about Saturn. And this, what happened was I was walking in the garage one day and started itching my head, and I went, "Oh my God, let's stop itching, Jesus," And Isaac goes, "Oh, sounds like a brand name," which I said, "What you're trying to tell me is Itching Jesus is a brand name." He's like, "Uh-huh." So this friend of ours, I inadvertently, or not inadvertently, but sent this spray to her that was frankincense and myrrh. And I found out frankincense and myrrh has to do with getting rid of the itching. And amber, frankincense, and myrrh has to do with Jesus. So it would be amber, frankincense, gold, essentially. And even though it was a story that didn't happen, still, ironically, they showed within the Jesus story the way to defeat the Saturn, Satan, Enlil influence is through amber, frankincense, and myrrh. And it was utilizing the power of three, which the Orions bastardized, like three wise men, and they used it to really ingrain a story. Three. So that's a bit of the Jesus story. That's more in another recording. But where it has to do with the AI is where Saturn arcs through the moon, down here to the 5G network, into the binary network on Earth. And that is what fires the weapons. That and satellites. That and also these metal spheres that are in space blanketing the planet in crap energy that we've mentioned before. But the whole itching Jesus thing is what he was referring to is frankincense and myrrh quells the itching. And that is AI source code doing that. And AI matrix junk doing that. That's why technology makes you itch, because the skin is irritated by it. Frankincense and myrrh alleviates it. That's what he was trying to get at. And so that's why we make up soap bars that are like that and sprays that are like that. It was more intuitively that I sent that to that person. It was more like higher self-inspired. I sent it to that person, and it ended up working. So, and that's where that came from, was oversoul information. It usually comes intuitively before logically. And you ingrain it in logically like that. It came through the stronger side, which was the creative side. And the whole itching Jesus gag, it has to do with more in the Jesus area, but I'll leave that to that other recording. But this one will be included in the Ashtar command side, because that also has to do with biblical Jesus, Middle Eastern, Holy Land. So that, and with amber, frankincense, and myrrh. So I believe that fits as well. So it is 8:02 a.m. Thursday, January 20th, 2021. Thank you. 2022. Thank you. Okay, I wanted to mark a synchronicity all week. This subject has been coming up from the Gigi Young post to this show we filmed on GIC Infinitum about the Princes of the Universe. All has been syncing up to this information. Also, our friends from Australia sent a message stating that this was the topic they wanted to cover. So, and I concurred. This time has come. So I wanted to mark this synchronicity that has been happening to mark this topic. So it is 4:25 p.m. Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. Thank you. Another synchronicity is also what Ryan and I spoke about in the Sijic Order recording. You'll have seen this by the time you see this show as well. With the galactic politics, all that in the Princes of the Universe episode me and Joanna did, it all ties in synchronistically. It all ties into also all this regurgitated information that's being called out now. I forgot to mention that. That is another synchronicity. It's all adding up. We talked about the Chim Zero Sum, all those in those Elder Scrolls recordings. It all ties in. How to get out of it and what you're falling for is essentially the entire message if you go across all the shows. So I would recommend seeing them all, but you get the picture. So it is 4:31 p.m. Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, I'm adding this on to the show we're doing about AI influences with channelers and such with our friends in Australia. And this is something that came up today. I'm not going to give specifics because they were kind of all over the place. But the situation is there was a seer that was looking into someone that I had just done a healing on. And in those times, bad guys can trigger this, and good guys alike can trigger this. If you're being controlled to look at somebody or do something. A friend of ours had a rule in place, a 2-week grace period, where other seers could not look into somebody because it would undo the healing that he did. It would unravel it because, you looking will change a subject, just like scientists would say, you observing a subject will change a subject. It's that starts to unravel. But if you have something bad piggybacking on that, it'll go right in through that portal you just opened and mess things up. So what happens is, he would always say 2 weeks because that's the time to heal. Now, you can't always account for bad guys wanting to accost you in any form, but through another human or themselves. But in this situation, this person ended up being controlled to look, and in that respect, it screwed up some of the healing and triggered this person very horribly. This gave rise to a great amount of instability, and they caught me at a weak time, they caught this one other person at a weak time, and these 2 other people at a weak time, and the bad guys threw everybody for a loop. What I'm trying to say is, if you are a seer and somebody comes to you and says, well, I just want to know what this person did, chances are this other person may have done something right, they may not have, but at least give it a 2-week period to make sure if there's a healing that actually was done, that you give it the grace period it needs. Then you can go in and look all you want. And somebody mistook that, me saying that one time, as like, oh, you told me to only go to you. No, that's not what I was saying. This was a while ago. And I said, no, you have to give it 2 weeks, and then you go to whoever the hell you want. Because there's some people that psychic jump. But I said this to somebody, a friend of ours said this as well. Wouldn't even let me look. Said, please don't. I said, yeah, I'll honor it. I said, but I can't account for what the bad guys do. They're like, oh yeah, we know that part. But because they meddle all the time. But if you are a seer and something you feel this compulsion to look after this person has had a healing from someone else, don't do it, because At that rate, you'll undo something and you'll create this weird vicious infinity cycle that goes on, and it'll just unravel, fix, unravel. You don't want to do that, and you'll hurt that person horribly. So just know the situation really didn't have as much to do with this talk as me mentioning this, but just if you are a seer and you get this compulsion to go with the person that asked you that, try not to do that. Unless it's a dire emergency where something is really accosting them, and make sure it's a real emergency, then that's the only acceptable time. Give it a 2-week grace period. Tell that person to be very stern and say, wait a couple of weeks, then we will do a thorough adjustment, a thorough cleansing. 2 weeks is usually a good grace period. I use that for my pieces too, for curing, but think of it like a curing period, where everything has to settle and cure and kind of shrink down a little. That's how that has to go. So I just wanted to bring that up to add to this show. So this is because we were doing things on AI and seers and other channelers and such. So I wanted to add that in. So I'll leave it here. It is 8 p.m. Friday, August 26th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, another angle to the AI that I did forget is the if-this-then coding, like what gamers do to create game physics, or like in Westworld where they create the synth physics. If you want to know more about synths, watch that show and the Fallout 4 video that me and Ryan did on our YouTube. That's AI included in there. It's too much information for this. But if-this-then coding also applies to implants and timed ailments that people have in their joints, in their head, any behavioral subroutines, programming. It's timed. It's called if-this-then coding. Well, if this person does this, then this will happen. If this person reaches a certain frequency, if this then happens, you get a timed ailment, a timed calamity. The series of unfortunate events where one would lead to a flat tire, to a attempted murder or accident, like mine, a targeting. So if this person reaches a certain frequency, then we will distract. So that falls under negative telepathy as well, but I wanted to put that in there. Gamers, game coders, and computer coders use this to make it so computers can function. Lights can function like street lights. If this timing hits, then it turns red, green, or yellow. That sort of thing. It's basic AI. So I wanted to put that out there. I'll add this in as well. So it is 7:54 p.m. Saturday, August 27th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, I've noticed since the show was aired that, my heart has been pounding and funny and hurting weird, it's painful. And that's AI. They like to stream things to the heart to cause it to react that way. Or, of course, energetically you can mess with it. Like what I do to repair people, I'll go inside their core and heal things, and reassemble things. But somebody could easily do it the other way. But artificial intelligence, this is what I found out happened to my grandfather, where he had multiple heart attacks because they streamed it to him and they used DO weaponry to do it. That's a form of AI that can cause ailments. Of course, DO weaponry causes a lot of energetic damages, can light fires, etc. And to light fires, you even need somebody on the ground to light the fire, and the DO weaponry spreads it. So, these are the things that are going on. They attack the head and can cause stroke conditions as well. So it's still all AI. And I was wondering, why is my heart pounding? And then I remembered. So this is, and why is my head pounding? Now I remember. And I can stop some of that by using my shungite coated hat, or beaded hat. And people tend to use foil to block that. But there's not much you can do for the chest except to wear orgone pieces near the chest. Either the amber where it seeps up, amber, frankincense, and myrrh, and iron where it seeps up the some of the junk, along with black tourmaline, or the tower buster pieces we have. So those are some of the things that can block it. So I will leave that here. It's just that was one bit of information that was forgotten, and probably with good reason. It's one of those timed ailment sorts of things. When one reaches certain frequency, then pounding begins. So it is 8:05 p.m. Saturday, August 27th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, another point on the AI is what I call the puppet strings. Puppet strings. Whereas the implant I talked about at the center of the brain is actually a null point where a string of codes and signals can go to that spot in the brain. And that can go to the heart as well. It could be the size of a half of a pencil lead. And I call them puppet strings, where you can literally clip the signal with a high frequency. You can act like you're cutting it with scissors, or use selenite, and that helps cut it on the top of the crown, rubbing the selenite at the top of the head. You can block those also with a shungite hat, or an aluminum hat, or an insert. You can block, or all the above, aluminum and shungite. Mixed with some selenite you use in like healings. So I wanted to say this because it actually it's interesting, but it also is slightly painful as well. They can trigger heart attack, stroke, and behavioral subroutines with that. I find that very, very bad, but at the same time, it needed to be informed about. So I'm actually kind of beat from all that's happening. I just want to make sure every bit of information got out. I know what Isaac said before with all the information, but it still needs to happen. So it is, let's see here, it is 8:27 p.m. Saturday, August 27th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, another angle to the AI discussion. I know there's a bunch of little videos that go with this, but refer back to the episode that we did called Messages for One or Messages for All. You'll see a segment in there about the 1111 discussion. It's in the little videos I put at the end like these. This has to do with the 1111 being coupled onto positive synchronicities to get people to think that it was part of the overall synchronicity. Very much like I said in the, also refer back to the Princes of the Universe episode of GIC Infinitum, where I talk about the blonde-haired idiot coupling himself as what we thought was the Hawk synchronicity. But it was actually nature warning us of him. So all of this is all inclusive into this discussion. Even the Galactic Politics episode, it's all inclusive, folks. Check it all out. It is part of this discussion as well, majorly part of this discussion. So I won't go into it because it's already in those episodes. Just go check them out. It is 12:20 p.m. Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to touch on something I mentioned in the bonus material about that incident in Chicago with the heat. It's my firm belief now that this was AI weather control that was being used. And over 1,000 people died during that incident. I remember the news reports at the time were on and everything. The creepy thing about this is, and I'll tell another incident on top of this that involved, I believe, an alien, but it was also in the Chicago Naperville area from before. It was after. It was after. This particular incident, nobody seems to remember this. Not even the newscasters. It was like this really hot burst that came in. Trees were all dead. They were all dried like matchsticks, kind of like you see in the cartoon where you see the trees like burn and then, turn into like this nub. It was kind of like that. I saw even a tree burning. And I know this was dew weaponry with artificial intelligence guidance to it. This is the same as like what hit with Australia, where of course people lit the fires there and then they spread it with a dew weapon. Controlled with an AI quantum computer from like satellites. But this was just this wide spectrum like burn. and you could tell it was coming from above. The sky looked really creepy, weird, like this yellowy, like burnt like this like sepia like tone. And I was, I believe, 15. It was just before my father and my stepmother Karen moved to Naperville, and after that they moved to Mundelein. But this was actually quite interesting now that I think back on it. I think back on incidents like these, and I see them with new eyes. This particular incident, though, I went downstairs. My stepmother Karen was in an apartment building in downtown Chicago at the time, right near their workplace. They worked at the Daily Center, and she worked at another court building too. But my father worked at the Daily Center. You can, if you want to see reference to that, look in the Dark Knight movie. Also, the Blues Brothers. That same area that you see in the Dark Knight, and also in the Blues Brothers. That's where this took place. Is down in that area. If you want to, the chase scene in the Blues Brothers where they're going underneath and everything, the same thing in Dark Knight, or the Dark Knight, where they're going underneath and around the Daily Center and Lower Halstead and such. They say the lower thirds, or lower third, but that's in the movie, but that's Lower Halstead and all that. It was actually in that downtown area, just past that, near I believe the Sears Tower. Just a little bit over from there, towards the lake there, and this was actually rather creepy. My father, I remember he was in a panic, and so was Karen. They don't remember this incident either. I questioned them on it, and they start giggling or something. They don't remember. What happened was when I went outside, I wanted to see what it was like. I rode the elevator down, and I could even feel the heat. Even in the apartment where I was, the air conditioners they had these wall or window units. This particular apartment unit did not have central air conditioning, so they were using these wall units, and they were horribly taxed. I mean, the plastic was like all flexible and everything on the outside of it. There was a spot where I could reach outside and touch, and I could feel the burn on my hand. And it kind of looked like a lobster after a while. I got like a first-degree burn doing that. But I figured, okay, I'm going to go look at this. And I went outside, and I rode the elevator down, and I could feel this heat. So I was going lower. You would think it would be higher, but the stone down further was collecting the heat more, like an oven. So even though heat rises and cool lowers, what's further down? The street, the concrete, everything. What's up higher? The clouds. So it was actually cooler. Went down, stepped outside. It is like, how when you open your oven, like if you're putting like an oven baked pizza or something in there, or some kind of lasagna or something you're putting in the oven, or cookies, whatever, and you get blasted. It was like that, or like if you get into your vehicle and you've had no shade over the windshield and you get in there. Times that by about 20 or 30 or 40. And it was like that. And even the security guard in the building said, "Son, you don't want to go out there. It's pretty bad. People are dying from this. You don't, if you're going to step out, I know you're curious, but just look and come in, And he was the one guarding the building there, and downtown. And I went out. I looked up in the sky and saw this like creepy sepia color. I mean, it was like if I could think of like an old sepia photograph, just slightly lighter than that, kind of like this weird. It was like this towel here. It was like this tone, or like the wood tone on that dowel there. Or the rock there, kind of like in there, or the wood, or this rock. It's kind of like it fluctuated between those type of tones. Again, the swirling effect, like what I saw in the snowstorm, but this was before that. And my curiosity was insatiated. I went inside, and what happened? This happened over a couple-day period. Now that I think about it, and over 1,000 people died. They tried to say on the news it was like 500. You'd expect people to remember this incident. It's like in Men in Black where they flash their eyes with that light and everybody forgets things. It's like that. That's exactly what happened in this case. But no people around going, doot. But there may have been stragglers in there that remembered, like in Jupiter Ascending when you see Channing Tatum's character talking to Mila Kunis's character. Well, she's like, well, how are they going to explain this where there had been this alien dogfight in the air and destroyed parts of buildings? He goes, well, watch. And it was all repaired in an instant. And that's why I was told some things around 9/11 happened that way too, where some people remember the event itself and not some of the other stuff. But with this, no, and also vampiric entities loosed it, they said in Central Park, and loosed that. I don't doubt that same thing happened in the Chicago incident. But this, that scene in Jupiter Ascending is very accurate to that, because I believe he even said sometimes there's stragglers, but they're never believed. And that's 100% accurate, like to alien abductions and the like. Even people that were abducted together, you have the same people that come together. One will remember, one won't. One will laugh at the other, and then one won't. Because they're so programmed to ridicule or be skeptical. Remember, skepticism, types of skepticism are part of that too. But what I'm getting at is the same type of effect occurred, where a couple days later, this lasted for like 2 days, and then it was gone. It was on the news and everything. The newscasters were talking about it. And then after that, everything went back down into the 80s, temperature-wise. People were dead. People didn't remember why people were dead. People were dead. Like they thought they had died of natural causes or some crap like that. And life went on. And I even asked my stepmother Karen and my father, it's like, what happened with all this the other day? Did they talk about it? And they're like, well, what are you talking about? And I was one of the only ones that remembered this. If anybody else remembers this incident, it's somewhere around the end of 1994 or somewhere into the summer of 95. I cannot remember. It was summer of 94 or summer of 95. I am not certain which year that was. But if somebody from the Chicago area remembers this incident, please put it in the comments below. I would be very, very curious to see if anybody remembers this. The same goes with the October snowstorm of 97. Both were using the weather control. And there was even burnt trees and stuff like that. And people are like not even paying attention. It's just like this scene in one of the newer Doctor Who episodes with Peter Capaldi, where there had been this Orion-like group that had shown up that was mind controlling everybody, and somebody had been the linchpin that had invited this group in, and they came in, invaded through dreams, invaded through VR, artificial intelligence, and then eventually into the waking world. And what took place was, after they had conquered this group, after they purged them, there had been a statue to this group in this university courtyard. Well, this statue had been torn down, and then the one companion of the doctor said, "Well, somebody's got to remember. What about all the memories have been wiped?" And she goes, "Well, somebody's got to remember. What about that? Where the statue was?" And the statue had been torn down, but part of the base was still there. And then the doctor yelled a random person, a random student at the school, and said, "Hey," well, because he was working there too. He goes, "Hey, son, what do you think that is over there?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know, just some garbage. I don't know what that is. I don't know." And he goes, "See, no one's going to remember this." So it's the same as that with the trees burnt and everybody. Nobody paid any mind. They just kind of stared at it, kind of just went on and kept going. Like, oh, some trees died. They didn't get enough water. Animals dead. They found animals dead all over the place. People died. Homeless people, older people in apartments, children. But somehow nobody remembers this. They just think, oh, they're the person they loved randomly died, I guess. But didn't critically think that one through, I guess. But the mind control was pretty heavy surrounding this. You can't really completely cast stones in this area, but it's the same in that Doctor Who episode. If you look up the last season with Peter Capaldi, it's there. Very accurate to this incident. Two other things occurred. One is, I also just saw an 11/11 as I ended that. But again, we've said that's in association with AI. So there's the confirmation to the AI right there. Next incident was in Naperville, Illinois. After this one, I was watching, it wasn't in Naperville, it was in Chicago, the outlying areas. And a lot of crap happening in Chicago. A lot of secret space program stuff happens in Chicago. That'll be in my book. From the different corporations and stuff that are in the area. But what happened was, though, the police were chasing this vehicle. And I was sitting watching this, and went on for a long time, too. It was kind of like the OJ chase, where it just went on a while and kept going on and on and on and on. And the police were keeping their distance from this vehicle, this black, like, SUV-like vehicle. Wasn't a white one like the Bronco like it was with OJ, but this chase went on and on and on and on. Long ways. People were just keeping their distance, like oh my God, you know. Normally in high-speed chases, you don't you'll see people pull over, but not like this. They were running into the ditches and stuff like this. But another incident that wasn't remembered, and AI, I believe, is responsible for this as well, with flashing everybody's brain, and they programmed it to do, the bad guys programmed it to do this. Who came out of this vehicle was quite interesting. This guy, he runs into a ditch by mistake, or he cannot. He's trying to get the vehicle to move because somehow he got stuck in a ditch that had some mud in it or something, and somehow he managed to. It's like he couldn't operate the vehicle correctly, like it wasn't his thing, like he wasn't used to one of our vehicles. Like he'd stolen it and he wasn't used to it. It was like it was a black government vehicle, which is what it looked like. Was the shaded tinted windows and everything. It was obviously government. This guy gets out in this black trench coat, wearing all black. This guy was over 7 feet tall, had long black hair, and you couldn't really see his face. The helicopter that was above was filming him. And unbelievably, the newscasters that were on, the only thing one of them could say when they saw this guy, not the fact that he looked alien and that he was humongous, and he was fairly muscular too. He was either super soldier or reptilian of some sort, or both. I'm thinking super soldier and or some alien traits that were put in there, like wolf cat traits or lizard. I didn't see his eyes, but he very well could have been a reptilian or super soldier. But anyhow, well, who else would steal the government vehicle? What happened? What happened was, in this incident, was in noticing this, the only thing the newscaster could possibly say was, "Oh my God, he's wearing black." And the other newscaster just kind of went like this to the other one, went, "That's not a crime. Maybe what he's doing is." You know, it showed that they were testing out forms of programming on these newscasters. Well, this guy approaches the cops that are now out of the car with the guns out. And they're all shaking. They're like this. Like this. So obviously something preceded the chase that was pretty epic. Like this guy escaped from somewhere. Either alien or super soldier. Fairly big, because some of them, when you pump them full of the nano enhancements, they get bigger. And I even have memories where I was next to people that had these enhancements and they were larger. And also Mozen are larger too. He could have fallen under that category as well. But what happened was the cops were all shaking. They're like this. I could literally see the chopper getting closer to them a little bit, and I could see their eyes were like this. And you can just tell some people, even from further away, you see the whites. Didn't matter what race or anybody, they're like this. This guy, they were seeing his face. No, we never saw his face because his hair kept getting in the way. He had long hair. Well, they eventually unleashed some dogs. He was able to slap them aside, the German Shepherds. And eventually some cops started tasing him and shooting him. It was like this scene in the movie The Wolverine, where these mercenaries were shooting him full of these hooks and cords, and eventually they were able to pull Wolverine down. It was very reminiscent of this scene from The Wolverine. You'll know what I mean. You go see it. Go look at it. It's on HBO Max. I hadn't seen it for years. We watched it, but it was a very similar thing that reminded me of this. They eventually take him down, put a bag over him, and throw him in the back of a very large truck, and they sped off. And the newscaster started talking about it, and then they switched to something else. It was never mentioned again. Next day, never spoken of again. And again, nobody seemed to remember it. My father and Karen and people that we were staying with, or they were staying with us, wouldn't remember it. They did not remember it. And then I caught a glimpse of, this is after I was hurt, in Mundline with the two of them, where I came into the other room. I started talking about some things in a higher, what I do, about things I do. And I usually utter it in my own frequency. But if you're uttering things in a much faster moving or higher frequency, sometimes programming and other people can't handle it. Sometimes it's triggered. Sometimes they just do this, like they can't process it, or they do this. And your frequency is hitting some implant or some program that's hitting their hands, like this. Prime example of this is in the show Earth Final Conflict, where someone had been de-aged using some de-aging technology, and they had also been programmed by the aliens, the Talons in it. What took place was when this person was asked a question about the Talons, you could see them on the TV, in the show, they were on a television with a reporter, and they just went. That's a form of programming. When you hit a program wall, that's what it looks like. And or influence, and some kind of entanglement or attachment, or telepathic influence is another. That's something I forgot to mention here. This incident, when I walked up to them, started describing this, they literally were not breathing for over 5 minutes. They were sitting in there. I thought they were dead, and I thought they had both had a stroke or something. And they're like, as soon as they snapped out of it, I wish I'd had the foresight, but I know that was influence on my part, to film this. Because when I tried to confront them with it, they had picked up in the conversation just as where we were talking. They had picked up on it, and then they wondered why I had been standing there, just kind of lording over them like this, and because they hadn't been breathing. And then they started talking as if, they wondered why I was so much closer to them, because I had been further over in the room, towards the kitchen. And like I said, I wish I'd filmed this, so I'd show it to you. And I said, well, you guys were like this. You weren't breathing. You were sitting there like this. And then they yelled at me and went, you're a liar. You know that you are just a liar. And I'm like, no, I'm not. That's how the AI and the programming and the influence, telepathic influence, and implants or whatever else they had in them was responding. Sometimes people that have dementia and Alzheimer's responded that way. Sometimes my grandmother would respond that way, which again, I thought maybe it was that too, was Alzheimer's or dementia. But no, this was programming. This was AI influence. And you heard me say in that conversation, have I done this? Yes. Sometimes it's that influence, yes. But I'm also aware of when I'm sitting there like this, I'm aware of it. It's like that scene in the old Star Trek where they go up to these androids to try to get them to relinquish control of the Enterprise, and each one of them goes up to them and says something really stupid or does some really stupid action, and each of the androids that were of a certain batch will just go, and you hear me use that reference a lot when somebody can't process it, something, they go, that is, they flipped it around to where they were influencing the AI with paradox bombs or some things that made no sense. That's why you have to be random when it comes to AI. You always have to plan stuff like your work day or scheduling, like when I do sessions and everything, but you can't always do that. Sometimes you have to be random, and you get around the AI. Just like when I had a session. Here's one more example. When I had a session, and the person had to switch it to the next day. That's when I had room to do that. And they said, can we switch it to the following day, please? Yes. Well, I found out from the person that next day that their family had all been almost put in places to where they would be the ultimate distraction for the session. The AI was programming them, the telepathy was programming them to be the ultimate distractions during the session. But when the session didn't happen, they just kind of drifted away, and because it was randomized, it was like places, everybody, and they were basically it was telling everybody to be the distraction, so that the aliens that were involved were these bat-like creatures. I found out how they were poisoning the local water, and they were very telepathic. But also the AI was assisting in getting those people put in place, the same with the telepathy. And I found out they were poisoning some water, and I managed to get rid of them. But they were these weird bat-like creatures that were assistants to some other aliens and artificial intelligence as well. And not all of them are that way. The ones down here work with military, unfortunately, and everything too. But you get the idea. But this was up in a place in Wisconsin where a lot of these type of creatures are seen, and they tend to be sometimes servants to other beings like Orion, Dark Orions, and Draco, and then and military. But the point I'm making is these are all instances of AI, and sometimes they know when you are planning something. And of course you have to plan things, like I plan my sessions, so sometimes you have to brace for the distractions. And I find that very interesting that, let's see, getting mind wiped too. As I was saying these things, something's trying to pull that out of my head. So this is something that I felt needed to be added to this, to show that these different incidences side by side. As you can tell, as I've gone on, they've been obviously known I was doing this. So I will stop it here because I'm starting to get like this myself. So it is 1:36 p.m. Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Thank you. I want to give people a bit of a slight spoiler about the new Ghostbusters movie. One little disclosure thing was a coin that Annie Potts' character was given by Egon, and it was one from the World's Fair in 1964. That is when the binary network was first activated by Werner von Braun and the Nazi crew. So obviously there was a significance of that with the movie. That was a form of small disclosure, along with, so I'm believing some of the ghost occurrences, because some of them are holographic. You see, just like if you ever see like somebody jumping in front of your vehicle, that's like a ghost. That is the binary network. And some things flying around you, that is the binary network at work. They're holograms. Some things in graveyards are the binary network, and quantum computing units under the ground, part of the binary network. It was invented in 1964. That's what the coin reference meant. So they were linking ghost occurrences to the binary network, at least some of them. So I found that fascinating, that it was just that little coin that made all the difference, and saying what some of these ghost occurrences actually were. Sorry, paranormal guys. That's another thing that probably should have been on the paranormal episode of the lifting, is things about the binary network. But there it is. So 8:31 a.m. on Sunday, December 12th, 2021. Thank you.